finally, it's me, Caroline Fenton, and you already know that I am pumped up for college football season. And Southeastern Carolines, you know that 312 Pizza Company is my favorite place in town. 312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Music City. You can catch every down of the college football season at 312 Pizza Company. From week 1 of the national championship, 312 Pizza Company is your home for college football season.
As a roofer, every second counts. Late deliveries and incomplete orders cost me time and money. That's why I partner with Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. Every branch working together. With Beacon, I know my supplies will be delivered on time and complete. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Go to BECN.com to get started building with Beacon. Beacon, always building.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving 102.5, 106.3. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the Law Offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fentz here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian is out today. So, you know, there were definitely some things I was going to crack on him about, but apparently those will have to wait. So we will get into all of that. I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer today, but I feel like I'm going to be.
Why?
Well, it's just like that guy that commented on Corey Curtis's Facebook page. WKRN Corey Curtis, give it the thumbs up. It's just like the guy who commented on Corey Curtis's Facebook page that was like, he's on shaky ground with us Titan fans in reference to me. And I woke up this morning and I was just thinking about the Titans and how everybody else outside of Nashville feels about the Titans going into the Giants, and how everybody in Nashville feels about the Titans. It's all kind of like an SEC football program without the venom. So, for instance, nobody thinks the Titans are going to make the playoffs. Like, nobody is talking good about the Titans. Nobody considers the Titans a contender. We've been over this 1,000 times. How, like, every national radio host, TV columnist, whatever, is like, oh, yeah, Indianapolis going to win that division. Matt Ryan, you know, whatever. And we know that a lot is because of Tannehill, and I get that. But then when it comes to everybody here, and I even probably see some of my previous self, my younger self in this, I mean, I think that the expectations around here from the fans and even from, you know, the younger Jared is, well, they're the number one seed in the AFC last year. Like, they're going to go try to compete with all these other teams. I mean, what the hell makes the Denver Broncos a much better contender than the Titans, who have been to the playoffs 3 years in a row? Great, they got Russell Wilson. How'd his team do last year? How'd his team do the year before? You know what? So I get it. And I understand the dichotomy. First of all, let me say this. I love the Titans, and I'm going to the game Sunday, and everybody knows this. I don't know what interests me about this game on Sunday. The Giants suck. The only way I can be interested is if the Titans blow them out. The only way for me to be happy with the performance on Sunday would be for them to blow them out. So let's put the Giants to the side for Wednesday, Thursday, for 3 days.
Okay. I think I can do that pretty easily, seeing as though I've put the Giants away for pretty much my entire life.
I mean, like, when they played, like, the Cleveland Browns, to open the season in 2019, and Baker Mayfield was Rookie of the Year, and they'd gone out and traded for Odell Beckham, and they had signed Jarvis Landry, and they had done all these
things. Daniel Jones' first game?
What?
That Cleveland game? Or are you talking about the Titans?
No, when the Titans
Browns. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Like that, we talked Cleveland all because they were always in the headlines. It was always something about Cleveland. The Giants, again, we'll worry about them Friday. I have this overwhelming prevailing thought. And as I said at the start, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but do Titan fans just think that A.J. Brown and Harold Landry are going to be replaced by the guys they have right now? Like, do they just think that A.J. Brown, and I know, A.J. got hurt last year, and A.J. didn't even have 1,000 yards. Right. We saw the San Francisco game. We saw A.J. Brown dominate the Colts in the second game. We saw A.J. Brown turn around on an underthrown ball by Tannehill and make a one-handed catch on a 40-yard touchdown pass against the Bengals that kept them in that game. Like, we know A.J. Brown's good. And I'm a huge A.J. Brown critic, but we know A.J. Brown was good. And so he's out. And they brought in Traylon Burks, who all the draft experts told us was going to be A.J. Brown. So far, he's not A.J. Brown. And 2, Harold Landry. We talked about this a lot last week. And we talked about when Harold Landry got hurt. And people are like, just put Weaver in there. Weaver will be fine. Like, just throw Weaver in there. Oh, yeah, go sign somebody. Oh, hey, go. And I'm like, in life, there are things that are replaceable. And there are things that are not replaceable, and I think the NFL is the same way. If the Tennessee Titans lose Ryan Tannehill for the year, he is not replaceable. They will put Malik Willis in, and they will lose. Not replaceable. Last year, I think we thought, like, maybe the Titans could replace Derrick Henry, but when you really look at it, they had won most of their games before Derrick Henry got hurt. And then the teams that they beat after Derrick Henry got hurt, other than the Vrabel special against the Rams, which then immediately got canceled out by a much worse loss, a divisional AFC loss to the Texans. Mm-hmm. Once you throw those out, when Derrick Henry was hurt, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Texans, they beat the Jags.
They beat Trevor Siemian and the Saints.
And Trevor Siemian, and then they did beat the 49ers. And that was a game that AJ, freaking dominated. So they kind of, with the right circumstances, could replace Derrick Henry. I don't think they could go a whole season without Derrick Henry and be any good. I'm convinced of it. Do people think that A.J. Brown and Harold Landry are in the replaceable category? Like, going through everybody else, like just looking at the other positions on the team. I think they can replace Roger McCreary. He might not be as good as Roger McCreary, whoever it is that they put in there, but I think they can replace Roger McCreary. They can replace Austin Hooper. They've replaced Taylor Lewan before. Out with a torn ACL. Ty Sambrilo went in. He got hurt. David Quessenberry went in. They can replace him. They think they can replace Roger Saffold. And I'm not even complaining about that right now because I think they can replace Roger Saffold. But those two guys, Brown and Landry, because I'm just being honest. Looking at a team last year that was a really solid, well-coached, together football team that for the most part played fundamentally well, but had star players across the team, and the star players, for the most part, outside of the quarterback last season, carried the team. Now, probably the most influential of those stars from last season is gone, A.J. Brown, and the leading sacker, the guy who, and this is what bothers me about this whole idea that just Landry's going to be replaceable and A.J.'s going to be replaceable, and it's fine. When we were talking about the rumors about trading A.J. Brown and, the Jets are interested in A.J. Brown, and it was like, we're not going to trade A.J. Brown. We can't trade A.J. Brown. And then when Harold Landry hit free agency, remember, we were at the Preds, and they got to the deadline to tag him, and they didn't put the franchise tag on him, but they didn't have a deal worked out. They worked one out that night. But, I remember for weeks and weeks and weeks, it was, they can't let Harold Landry go. Like, oh, God, what are we going to do without Harold Landry? So this is an honest question that I am asking the people today. Do you think the Titans can just replace Harold Landry and just replace A.J. Brown based upon what you have seen out of the wide receivers? Let me start with what you think they can do and what you think these fans think they can do.
What I think they can do?
Yes.
You can't replace Harold Landry. You can't replace 12 sacks. And I think to your point about people saying, just throw Rashad Weaver in there. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
I don't know how much of that is, hey, it's fine, laissez-faire. Rashad Weaver's been looking really good in practice and in the preseason games. We can just plug him in and it'll be fine.
Like Tom Brady's out. It's okay. Blaine Gabbert will come in.
It's big game Blaine. It's not big game Tom. But I don't know how much of it is that and how much of it is well, Rashad Weaver, let's see what you got, because the Titans don't really have another option. I don't know how much of it is, it'll be fine, or how much of it is, we hope it'll be fine, because Rashad Weaver, you're the next man up. It's all on you. I don't think anyone thinks that Harold Landry is replaceable in what he did in 2021. I don't think anyone thinks Rashad Weaver is going to be a 12-sack kind of guy this year.
Or that the team, I think the bigger thing is not just the one guy. It's more so that the team can replace the production.
The production. And I mean, when you think about it, could you think Bud Dupree can get a few more sacks this year? Yeah, probably. How many can Rashad Weaver get? We said, what, maybe 5, 6?
Can the defensive line dominate games like they did at the end of last season?
And that's what I don't know. Is maybe you can get close to the same number of sacks that you did last year. Was it 43 total last year? Something like that, which is a very high number. Can you get in the 40s? Maybe, maybe not. Can you get high 30s? Maybe, maybe not. But it's the defensive line as a whole, the unit as a whole that's concerning. And with A.J. Brown, I mean, can you recreate his production on the field? Yeah. You can find other wide receivers that can do what A.J. Brown does. But is Treylon Burks that guy that can do it this year? That's what I have questions about.
Well,
I mean,
when you say you can, are you referencing like the Bengals could reproduce that because they've got Jamar Chase who could do that? If the Titans go out and find
A.J. Brown, we said, is a top 15 wide receiver in this league. There are other guys out there that can do what A.J. Brown does.
Yeah, but there's not any of those guys on this football team.
Yes. So when you say if he's replaceable, hypothetically, yes, A.J. Brown is replaceable. But did the Titans replace him? Right now, I say no. There's nothing from Treylon Burks that I've seen from him that's made me think that he can replace what A.J. Brown did or has done.
So then is that not like a Debbie Downer outlook to start the season?
Yeah, it kind of is.
I mean, I'm just looking at it from this standpoint, which is like the Titans were the kind of team, and I think we can all agree with this. The Titans needed things to go their way in order to win big games. The Titans do not have the kind of player who just dominates big games. You know, they don't have John Elway as their quarterback that just, oh, okay, I got it. I'll take it. Whatever. Maybe Derrick Henry. But the reality about running in the NFL, and this is why quarterbacks are more valuable than running backs, is any team can just put more guys down in the box like the Ravens did in the playoffs last year or 2 years ago, and they'll beat you. That's just what they do. And so everybody's going to try to do that to Derrick, and then there has to be a threat of a passing game in order to make that go away. That's what the point of AJ was. Mm-hmm. So the Titans needed things to go their way. And really, right now, the things that they needed to go their way have not gone their way. If they don't have really one of those top 5 guys, Brady, Rodgers, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow. You don't have one of those top 5 guys. And I know, like, Herbert is a good quarterback, and Lamar is a good quarterback, and Dak is a good quarterback, and Derek Carr is a good quarterback, but they're not those guys. If you don't have one of those guys, then you have to have, like, your players be able to carry you like the Buccaneers team that won the Super Bowl with Brad Johnson that had Simeon Rice and Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks and Keyshawn Johnson and Keenan McCardell and Michael Pittman Sr. and all those guys. And, like, this team's got Derrick Henry, and this team's got Jeffrey Simmons, and this team has Kevin Byard, and those are legitimate NFL stars. And the Titans have some of them. But right now, they're missing 2 premium players off of the team. And so it's easy to sit there and say, Vrabel last year played with 91 players, and look what he did. But he did it with A.J. Brown and Harold Landry. And he doesn't have A.J. Brown and Harold Landry. And Kyle Shanahan's a good coach, too. But when Kyle Shanahan lost Bosa and his starting quarterback, the 49ers were terrible. And so that's where I sit right here. And I'm like, I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer today, but I do wonder if we need a little reality check on what our expectations should be given the 2 guys that aren't there right now. So that's what I want to start the show on. The show on is a question for you, 615-737-1025. Do you all think that the Titans can just replace A.J. Brown and Harold Landry? Just like if Ryan Tannehill got hurt, knock on wood, there's no way that this team could make the playoffs. Malik Willis cannot make the playoffs as a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. So we know that. Every team has players like that. If the Rams lose Aaron Donald, goodbye. You're done. If the 49ers lose Well, they have a lot of good players. 49ers is a pretty good team. If the Packers lose Aaron Rodgers, goodbye. Goodbye. Is that how we feel about these two guys? 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And one thing that I thought was cute at first about the Titans, and now it's starting to annoy me. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 here on the program. Caroline, please tell us about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Now, first things first, your first bet with Caesars, it's on Caesars up to $1,250. They've got you covered. So download the app and use the promo code RadioFull. That's one word, RadioFull, and then place your first bet. And if you win, then congratulations. But if not, don't worry. You'll get that stake back as a free bet. Now, if you need something to place that first bet on, I'm looking at the Marlins-Phillies game tonight. Give me the Phillies -1.5, -106 odds in the Caesars Sportsbook app because Aaron Nola is pitching, and I do not bet against Aaron Nola. Open to New Year's in Tennessee who are 21 or older. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returned as a credit. Most used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. You bet, you get.
Your home for the MTSU Blue Raiders is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Every touchdown.
Yes, touchdown.
Every three.
Free ball, yes, sir.
It all lives here.
Middle Tennessee.
You can also hear the Blue Raiders in the Borough on 97.5. Middle Tennessee Athletics on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
To know what makes Genesis Diamonds so special, you have to understand its origin. Back when owner Boaz Ramon used to sell diamonds only to jewelry stores.
I was selling to more than 700 jewelry stores. I didn't like what I saw.
What he saw in retail stores was grossly inflated prices, limited selection, pricing games, and a sales process that put the customer at a disadvantage. And it motivated this wholesaler to start his own retail revolution.
My passion was to build a place where the customer is going to be very informed. We're not going to hide any information from him. We're not going to have to get diamonds from other people. We're not going to mark up our prices to mark them down.
So Genesis was born. No middleman markups, no commission salespeople, industry-leading warranties, 30 times the selection, a no-holds-barred diamond education that empowers the customer, and a refreshing, relaxed, no-pressure atmosphere.
We created a place where the consumer is the king.
Come and get the royal treatment today. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
The one advantage of last season, at least you all have plenty of experience at getting that next man up and ready to go.
Yep, we've done that since, since I've been a part of playing this game. That's not, it's unfortunate. It's disappointing. Feel terrible, obviously, for Harold and the work that he's put in and his value to our football team. But we have to move on and get everybody ready to go win.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel yesterday as they get set for the Giants. And again, I'm just starting with this question, which is, A.J. Brown and Harold Landry aren't on this team. And are those just replaceable guys just like that? Mike, you had all that experience last year and next man up. Is it going to be just like that? Yes, it is. By the way, A.J. Brown in the playoffs last year averaged 28.4 yards per catch. That was number one in the playoffs. Gabriel Davis, who caught every fourth quarter pass, it felt like, from Josh Allen in that Kansas City game, was number two. A.J. Brown caught 5 passes for 142 yards, and the team still lost. But that's because the quarterback threw 3 interceptions. The only reason the team was in that game was because A.J. Brown literally had a touchdown and a half worth of yards, including one, the touchdown where he turned around and he caught it one-handed. A.J. Brown had 5 catches, 4 of which were for first downs. You want to know why the other one wasn't a first down?
Because it was a touchdown?
Because it was a touchdown. So A.J. Brown, Harold Landry had a sack and a half. Some guys are replaceable in the league. Some guys aren't. I was looking at the depth chart the Titans have put out in their little game release that has come out for the Giants game. And look, I'm not trying to cry over spilt milk here. I'm just trying to keep it real when it comes to expectations. We'll make our official predictions on Thursday. Nick Westbrook-Akina is starting at wide receiver. Let me just say this. That was cute at the start of training camp. He worked so hard and he's made progress and he's like, that's cute. But I'm in the business of winning football games. And in the business of winning football games, I don't know if we watch these college games this weekend, but remember when Dan Mullen last year said, we're going to go with the more experienced guy, Emory Jones, at quarterback. He's not as good as Anthony Richardson, but we're going to go with the more experienced guy here. And now he's sitting in the studio talking about football because he lost and got fired. Because Anthony Richardson is a dog. And there are only so many of those in football. And A.J. Brown was a dog. And when they traded him to get Treylon Burks, the expectation is Treylon Burks has got to be a dog. It is not funny to me anymore that Nick Westbrook-Akina is starting for the Titans at wide receiver. It is now a legitimate problem that he is starting at wide receiver for the Titans.
It's incredibly concerning, and that's what the conversation has been all along. I was fine with the A.J. trade when it happened. I understood why they traded him when it happened, but the biggest question had been, okay, Treylon Burks, now you have big, big shoes to fill. And, saying that you expect Treylon Burks to be A.J. Brown, I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but also that's why Treylon Burks was drafted.
Whether
it's fair or not, you're a first-round draft pick. You have to fill in and do what that team expects of you. And I think that's what the Titans expect of Treylon Burks, is to be the next A.J. Brown. We called him a younger, cheaper, healthier A.J. Brown.
That's what he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And guess what? A.J. Brown had 100 yards in his first game against Cleveland. And guess what? A.J. Brown had, I think, 90-something yards, but caught 4 passes and completely dominated the Falcons game in week 4. So A.J. Brown mattered. It's funny because Joe cherry-picked a stat that I believe was given to Joe about how, look at the percentage of snaps. A.J. didn't play a lot right away as a rookie. He had 100 yards in week 1. He had 90-plus yards and I believe a touchdown, and it was a long touchdown against the Falcons in week 4. He was on the field and dropped the 4th down pass in week 2. I mean, A.J. played valuable snaps for the Titans right away. People forget that going into that 19 season when they drafted A.J., Corey Davis was the number 1 receiver going into the season. Adam Humphries was their $9 million slot receiver who truly had a role on this team, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And then Taywan Taylor was supposed to start outside, and when the Titans realized A.J. was good and that Taywan sucked, they were like, all right, let's get rid of him as soon as we can. I mean, the Titans went into this season expecting Treylon Burks to start. And so with the defense, I mean, I at least have a little sympathy because Landry tore his ACL last week. But the also, A.J. thing, oof.
But to your point about A.J. Brown having 100 yards in his first game, if Treylon Burks played in the first game and didn't have 100 yards but had a good game, that can at least give you optimism.
Define good game for me. Is it like the ones like in the preseason where, well, the quarterbacks just aren't getting him the ball, but he's playing well, or Treylon Burks makes an impact on the football field?
Treylon Burks makes an impact on the football field.
That's what they need. That is what they need. And I'm not ruling it out because he might just be a game.
And he doesn't need to match A.J. Brown's production game by game by game, but he at least needs to get on the field.
Somebody said to me, what about Robert Woods? Because you don't factor Robert Woods in there. Like, Robert Woods was supposed to be the number 2 receiver. Like, that was what he was supposed to be. And so right now they're asking the 2 to be the 1 because they traded away the 1 because the guy they traded for to replace the 1 is now is not there, and the guy that they traded for is not ready to be the 1. That's the problem there. On the Landry front, TD said it best last week when he was like, Bud Dupree needs to go out and sack the quarterback.
Yeah.
They're paying Bud Dupree $19 million. Bud Dupree better go sack the quarterback.
Do your job.
That one I feel good about. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. But again, this is for you. And it is, do you think that these guys are just replaceable? That the Titans, that Vrabel, he will find a way, or, man, it's tough to get excited about Titan football because the team was good, probably not great last season, but when everything clicked, they were probably a really great team. And now A.J. Brown and Harold Landry aren't here, and they really haven't replaced him. A.G., kick us off here on the program. Thank you for calling. What's up, A.G.?
Yo, Jerry, man, I'm going to buy you a first-class ticket to Philly so you can go up there and be with A.J. Brown. And, Jerry, you is a flip-flopper. You used to roast A.J. Brown for not being healthy so much, man. You used to have my head spin around. But the real issue to me is productivity. I'm not. If I'm a coach, I'm not trying to replace no A.J. Brown. I'm trying to put a winning product on the field. And I feel like the Titans, without A.J. Brown, still have a productive offense. And that's what I would feel like is most important to me, because I feel like Tannehill is more reliant on tight ends than he is wide receivers anyway. And as far as Harold Landry, we still got plenty beasts throughout the defense. Yeah, we lost a great player. We shouldn't be concentrating on trying to replace him. We need to be concentrating on all these other beasts that we got on the field. And we
so only talk about the good things, AG.
And we still got a service. So he's not going to replace Harold Landry, but he's serviceable though. He's somebody good to step in his place, and that's all I got, Jared.
AG, thank you for your call. First point on the AJ thing, because I do want to talk about this. Over time, unless it's Brady who was there for 20 years, normally every star quarterback had either a number one receiver or his crew. For instance, Dan Marino had the Marx brothers. He always that's when you think of Dan Marino's receivers, and he had a lot of receivers over the 19 years or whatever he was with the Dolphins. But his receivers were the Marx brothers. Trying to think of another. Kurt Warner had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. Mm-hmm. It's always Steve McNair's number one wide receiver, even though the year that they went to the Super Bowl, Derek was the sixth receiver or fifth receiver on the team at that point. Steve McNair's number one receiver was Derek. Even though at one point, Frank Wycheck was his number one target, then it was the 3 years that the Titans have made the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback. A.J. Brown has been the number one wide receiver of the Titans. Here's what bothers me about AG's point about A.J. Brown, which is, and again, if Treylon Burks can step in and be the number one receiver for the Titans, then all is well. But he just hasn't shown it to the Titans yet. They played the Ravens in the playoffs in 2020, the 2020 season, 2021. They played the Ravens, and the Ravens literally loaded the box. I mean, they just stuffed it. Derrick Henry was 2.2 yards a carry in that game. So it was literally, hey, because they had Pro Bowl corners at the time.
Right.
Hey, we got Pro Bowl corners, Peters and Humphreys. If your guys can beat them, you win. If not, you lose. In that game, 6 catches for A.J. Brown, 83 yards and a touchdown. The second leading receiver was Anthony Firkser at 2 for 44. Dang. Corey Davis did not have a catch. Jonnu Smith, the great Jonnu Smith, 2 for 9, including a contested catch, which Tannehill should have thrown it to Cam Batson, didn't, but Jonnu probably for $50 million should have been able to make the catch on a 3rd and 2 that led to a bad decision by Vrabel to punt, and I don't want to get into it and rehash the whole game. But the reality is, A.J. Brown was the number one receiver of the Titans. And when you trade away a number one wide receiver, what you have to get in return is a number one wide receiver or something of that ilk. And Robert Woods is not a number one wide receiver in the NFL. Robert Woods, the reason why Robert Woods was let go by the Rams, and I'm not sure this was a smart decision, but the reason why Robert Woods was let go by the Rams was because they wanted Allen Robinson to be their number 2 wide receiver. They felt fine about Van Jefferson being their number 3 wide receiver. And deep down inside, I don't think the choice was Robert Woods or Allen Robinson. I think the choice was Robert Woods
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think they did. Because did you see they got his locker still in the locker room?
I don't really know what's up with that.
What they're doing is fully guaranteed contracts. If you're a vested veteran, which Odell is, they guarantee if somebody's on the roster. So the Titans could cut Robert Woods, for instance, today. They could cut Robert Woods, who's making $10 million. They could cut him today, and they would save the $10 million, and $10 million would go back on the cap or whatever. But once he plays on Sunday, or even if he's just on the team on Sunday, then that $10 million is locked in for the season. So anybody who's accrued more than 4 seasons in the NFL, their contracts, Lawan, for instance, Tannehill, all those contracts become guaranteed after week 1. So I think the Rams are probably waiting for that, so that they're not going to guarantee Odell the season. But when they end up signing Odell, it'll be a 2-year deal. And it'll include next year, but they're going to re-sign Odell. So that's kind of what that's about. But I believe that the Rams looked at it and they said, we can get Allen Robinson and then sign Odell, or we can keep Robert Woods. Yeah, we'll do that. And I'm not even, like, Allen Robinson when he's healthy is good, but Allen Robinson
is
not
great.
Great. That is, and that's right now the number 1 receiver for the Titans. And the number 2 is Nick Westbrook-Akine. Again, a solid player, but a backup. And not only a backup, but he's one of those guys that is serviceable at a lot of things.
Yeah. He's a jack of all trades.
But he's not good at anything.
Right.
And this is the NFL. Like, that doesn't cut it. That's what a backup is.
He's not good. He's just not great.
He's fair.
He's serviceable.
He's
if
fine.
you need to plug him in a slot position, he can do that.
And I'm fine with it because they're not paying him $13 million.
Right.
Like, the Titans should have a pass rusher, Derek Morgan. They took 10th overall, I believe, in 2010. And Derek Morgan was on the team for freaking ever. He and Brett Kern are the only 2 players that played for every single coach who coached the Titans. And Derek Morgan was on the team for forever. And they re-signed him to this huge contract. And Derek Morgan never sacked the quarterback. It was like some years he'd end up with 7 sacks. How did he get to 7? Like, what? And it used to drive me crazy.
7 isn't even like an astronomical number.
It used to drive me crazy because he was, the Mel Kipers and everybody, and I was in college when they drafted him, so what the hell did I know then? But they were all saying that he was, like, supposed to be, the best pass rusher in the class. And then all these other pass rushers went before him, and they ended up being guys like JPP, and they went before Derek Morgan, and the Titans got Derek Morgan, and so I was always like, yeah, Derek Morgan, he was a fine Titan. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a wide receiver. He's not bad. He's not good. He's just there. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a starting wide receiver. Not good. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your phones again. Somebody give me a compelling argument. If you are truly optimistic about this team, without A.J. Brown, without Harold Landry, we'll get to that. 615-737-1025. And, Tim Hasselbeck was on earlier today. Kind of this whole Traylon Burks, what's he going to do? We'll get into that as well. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Matt Duchene, and this is Smashville.
Running down the left side with Duchene. Duchene scores! Matt Duchene with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
What I would tell people is that you don't have to be in pain anymore.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, Medical Director at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in using advanced regenerative medicine to give people lasting relief from chronic joint pain.
What's exciting is that I get to see patients with our treatments actually get better.
Have you discovered regenerative medicine? It's an all-natural way to use the power of your own body to restore and repair damaged tissue.
We're using things that are already in your body, and we're simply concentrating them and then put it in an area of your body that you're having the pain so that your body can start the regenerative process, the healing process.
For pain in your knees, hips, back, shoulders, don't assume the old treatments are the only treatments. Avoid drugs and surgery and get lasting relief. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Paul Feinbaum here for the Southeast leader for cranes and equipment rental, CraneWorks. The CraneWorks team in Nashville, Birmingham, and Mobile is ready to make your next construction or maintenance project a big success. Give CraneWorks a call for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project. And don't forget, RentalWorks has a full line of rental equipment for jobs both big and small, and now offering qualified operators for all equipment, including aerial and earth-moving equipment. Call CraneWorks at 877-282-LIFT or visit them on the web at craneworks.com.
Attention sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. You need a sportsbook with integrity, longevity, and you need to know you're gonna get paid. You need a sportsbook that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and they will walk you through setting up an account. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention BetUS 2022, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the game begins.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets, courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Join us for the Wednesday edition of Robbie and Rex Road. Paul Kaharski from paulkaharski.com drops by. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans as they take on the Giants this week. Get you caught up on the latest in college football as well. That's Robbie and Rex Road, 6 a.m. on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Availability being as big a quality as it is, how much do you guys factor in Gordon's lack of availability over the course of his career?
Well, those are things that, really are out of our control. I mean, I think we'll look at how he handles, each day. And if he is, we would anticipate him being available to us. But I wouldn't look at anything in the past. And we're excited to work with him and see how he develops within our offense.
I love the question right there about, so with Gordon, his past inavailabilities, what does that mean? So, Mike, back in the last CBA when people took weed smoking much more seriously, even though you can literally almost buy it anywhere in America. In fact, Kentucky tried their hardest in order to make Delta 8 illegal, and they can't. So, with that being the case and the fact that nobody gets suspended for weed anymore, what do you think about what that means for you adding him to your practice squad where he may never play a game on the actual roster?
At least he'll be available.
I mean, that's
Party
not
on,
really
Josh.
for us. That's not, we're not worried, whatever.
I'm not a cop.
Let me say this about the Josh Gordon thing. I believe, and we'll get in all deep about the Gordon thing. I believe that Josh Gordon has the potential to give the Titans the same amount of the same repayment on investment as they got out of Adrian Peterson last year.
Which was not a lot.
That is my exact
Golden
point.
Tate.
So the Titans now have to figure out how to replace A.J. Brown and replace Harold Landry's 12.5 sacks. And I just don't know if they can do it. I want to believe, and I do think Vrabel's a great coach. And if they can't replace those guys, it's not going to be Vrabel's fault. Now, Robinson, they're going to be really upset about as far as the A.J. Brown thing's concerned. But it's not going to be Vrabel's fault if they can't replace those two guys. He is not a miracle worker. It's not like there has never been a team outside of Dick Vermeil's Rams that I can think of off the top of my head that turned to a backup and said, hey, save us. And the backup literally said, well, I guess, Brady in 2001, which is the single most unlikely outcome, the single most outlier situation of all time.
Not the rule. That is, in fact, the exception.
What is crazy is if you go back, and all these games are on YouTube now, if you go back and you watch that game, the 2001 game, it was the first one after 9/11. Bledsoe got knocked out, and he had the internal bleeding, and he didn't know about it when Mo Lewis hit him. That on that broadcast, the late Dick Enberg, who was calling the game, long-time announcer, great announcer, Dick Enberg said, like with his shock, that Bledsoe is not out of the game. According to our reports, Bledsoe's not out of the game because of injury, that they had benched Bledsoe for Brady when Bledsoe got hurt. Now, they didn't tell anybody that after the fact because it was like, oh, well, he had internal bleeding. He's been in the hospital, and, he might have died.
Yeah, of course
that's why we put Brady in there. But, I mean, just reading what I had read, Belichick and the crew, they were pretty fed up with Bledsoe to begin with. And so that was what – it would almost be like benching Tannehill right now, that if they were to bench him for Malik, it probably wouldn't be about Malik. That if Vrabel and them were to just get so frustrated. But I digress now that I've been on this storytelling mission, and I did promise your phone, so let's go to him. What do we have?
Josh texts in and says, it isn't fair to say that Treylon Burks hasn't done anything to show that he can help replace AJ before he's even taken a seat.
Other than he hasn't done anything to show us that he can replace AJ.
And that's the thing is I'm not going to say that Treylon Burks can't or won't replace AJ Brown. I think that he has the talent to be able to be a legitimate number one wide receiver.
Scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable do you feel that AJ Brown will be able to, or that Treylon Burks will be able by week 6 to be somewhat of an adequate, I'm not even saying like replace AJ's ability because that's too much to ask. By week 6, will Treylon Burks be the number 1 or number 2, however you want to couch it in terms of snaps at wide receiver on this team and make an impact?
Week 6, I would say I'm at like a 3.5.
I would say like a 2.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, right now I'd be a 2. But week 6, you have a few more games under your belt. Whatever kind of injury thing he may or may not be dealing with should be over with by then. But I'm not saying that he can't or won't at least replace the production of A.J. Brown. It's just right now he hasn't shown me that he's able to do it.
So here's the two things about why Burks has to be the one who replaces A.J. Brown. Number one, he was traded to do it. And number two, the whole concept of getting Austin Hooper, a tight end, getting Robert Woods, was to improve the offense from last season because the offense from last season simply was not very good. And so the way that we looked at it in live time when it happened was they had their number 1 receiver, they had their number 1 running back, they had their left tackle, they had their center. We knew they were going to plug in at left guard. The right tackle thing is just a shameful, the way that they've handled that. But we knew that they needed to get Tannehill a tight end and a real one, not Ferkser, and then try to pretend that he could be a starter, who, by the way, I don't even think he's in the NFL right now. Not that.
He got cut by the Falcons.
And so then you had to get him a second receiver. You had to get him some kind of replacement for Jonnu Smith, some kind of replacement for Corey Davis, so that they're not running out there the corpse of Julio Jones and whatever it is that they put at tight end last season. And so they did that. And, I really like Robert Woods as a number 2 receiver. And so if I'm looking at it and I've got Robert Woods and Austin Hooper and A.J. Brown, now I feel like the offense has improved from last year. If you want to sell me that A.J. Brown goes and that Robert Woods and Austin Hooper will replace that A.J. Brown thing, then you're right at the same as last year. And now that you're taking away Harold Landry's 12 sacks from last year, now where are, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's why Burks has to be the guy that goes in there against the Giants, and screw the Giants, the Bills and the Colts and the Raiders, and I think Washington is that next game, and they suck. So he has to go in there and do that so the offense isn't the same as last year so that it's actually better. And that's because that's what we all wanted last year after the playoffs was, hey, defense was horrible 2 years ago. Last year, good. Offense was elite 2 years ago. Last year, horrible. So if they could just get the defense from last year and the offense from 2 years ago, voila.
That's a Super Bowl team.
And right now, I just don't feel comfortable that the defense is going to be as good as it was last year because Harold Landry's out.
Losing your leading sacker doesn't make you feel great about it.
And I don't feel like the offense is going to be as good as it was last year because A.J. Brown is out and they haven't found that replacement for A.J. Brown. And we haven't even gotten to the Pro Bowl left guard who's not there anymore. And we haven't gotten to the fact that they had a veteran at right tackle who had started games before. And now they got a rookie who's getting flags in practice. Like, that is a whole nother, corner to go crawl into.
But if Treylon Burks, and that's an if, I'm not saying he will or he will not, if he can at least get close to mimicking what A.J. Brown did in his rookie year, you pair that with Robert Woods, which is a much more serviceable two than Julio Jones was last year, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and you have a legitimate tight end, and let's keep fingers crossed for a healthy Derrick Henry throughout the entire season. I think that offense absolutely is set up to be better than it was last year.
But it's still not as good as the elite offense, which is what everybody was shooting for at the start of the offseason.
And that's also an if Treylon Burks can.
They're all ifs, really. Yeah. Like, right tackle is a huge if.
Oh, we're not even talking about the offensive line. I'm just talking about the pass catchers here.
What's
and
next?
Derrick Henry. Andrew checks in and says, we aren't replacing Randy Moss and Lawrence Taylor. It'll take a team effort. Our 3 wide receivers and tight end will have more production than they did last year. Losing Landry hurts, but hoping Bud Dupree gets the sacks Landry did last year, and Weaver fills Bud's stats from 2021.
So here's the thing about the idea of not replacing Randy Moss and not replacing Lawrence Taylor. Just like I said at the onset of the show, if the Titans lose Ryan Tannehill, they're finished.
Yeah.
Like, they're finished.
Well, most teams in the league are finished if they lose their starting quarterback.
Almost every team that's any good is finished if their quarterback goes down. Cincinnati. Done. And so that is how this league works nowadays. That doesn't mean that Ryan Tannehill is John Elway or Dan Marino. In fact, the reason why the Dolphins didn't like Ryan Tannehill was because he was not Dan Marino. And that was what they kept holding him up against, was Dan Marino. It's a lot easier when the comparison is, he's way better than Mariota and Jake Locker and Mettenberger and everybody since Steve McNair. And Steve McNair was good. Steve McNair was a good quarterback, and I love Steve McNair with all my heart. He wasn't Dan Marino, which is what the standard is in Miami. And so, yeah, I know. They're not replacing Lawrence Taylor with Harold Landry. I've never claimed that Harold Landry is one of the very best players in the NFL or one of the very best players in the history of the NFL, which is what Lawrence Taylor is. But he was one of the very most important players on the Tennessee Titans, and he's not there. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get back to your phones. But there was one guy who everybody thinks is going to have to step up for Landry. Maybe not, according to the Titans. It's a little interesting twist. We'll get to that coming up. Stillman and Company right here. 102.5 The Game, 106.3. Let me tell everybody out there about the Sounds who are playing tonight. Sounds Baseball. Get excited. Tune in for Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan at 5:35 as they're on the road taking on the Charlotte Knights, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. Forecast for today, very comfortable, very similar to your Wednesday. High temperatures upper 80s to right near 90 degrees, low humidity, and no rain chances for today. A few showers and storms late in the day for your Friday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Attention sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. You need a sportsbook with integrity, longevity, and you need to know you're gonna get paid. You need a sportsbook that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and they will walk you through setting up an account. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention BetUS 2022, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the game begins.
Need a new tractor, zero-turn mower, utility vehicle? Try it and buy it at Coleman Tractor of Nashville's Kubota Field event, Thursday, September 15th at Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Fun Shoot at one of Coleman Tractor's biggest sales events of the year. Demo, subcompact, compact, utility tractors, and more. Ask about competitive financing offers. Get a coupon for up to $250 and enter to win an Orca cooler. Don't miss Coleman Tractor of Nashville's Kubota Field event, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on September 15th at Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Fun Shoot.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Talked about how good a camp Rashad Weaver had and in the preseason and all. How much of an opportunity is this for him to step up and play an increased role now?
Well, I mean, I think he was going to have find a role for him somehow. I think that he was, like you mentioned, continuing to improve and had shown, some really good things in the preseason. His ability to disrupt the football, get his hand on a football, sack the quarterback, have some impactful plays. So, we'll see where Weave is, and hopefully he can help us.
There you go. Rashad Weaver. Everybody thinks Weaver will step right in for Harold Landry, and we all know that he's not going to be as good as Harold Landry, but that he's going to step right in there. Not so fast, according to the Titans depth chart that was released in their game notes yesterday. Starting at outside linebacker, Bud Dupree. At the other outside linebacker, Danico Autry.
Interesting.
Now, DeMarcus Walker, defensive end, 280-pounder, who actually weighs less than Autry does, is listed as a starter at defensive end. So for those keeping track at home, T.R. Tart's the big old nose tackle. Mm-hmm. Simmons lines up on one end. DeMarcus Walker lines up on another end. Dupree and Autry are on the outsides. What do we think about that little nugget from Vrabel? At least in the team's game release, Weaver is listed as a third backup at outside linebacker.
I think it's interesting because the question is, was that move made because of Rashad Weaver or not? Are they moving things around in the defensive line because Rashad Weaver can't start in that place? Or does it have nothing to do with Rashad Weaver and they just see this as being the best possible combination in terms of the best players that they have?
I don't know what it is, but I know that this came from Vrabel. I know.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually believe there's a big drama going around right now with the Steelers about, I guess they released a depth chart that had Mason Rudolph as the backup quarterback as opposed to Kenny Pickett. And people were like, what?
And wasn't Kenny Pickett just named a captain?
No, Trubisky was. So Trubisky's the starter. They had Kenny Pickett as they had Rudolph as the backup and then Pickett as the third. And then today they sent out, they said it was an error. Tomlin got up there and said, it was just some copy and pasting, not a big deal. And honestly, I don't think it's a big deal as to who is the backup or the backup's backup. The things that matter to me are who's starting. That is what matters to me. I don't think, it's just me, if you were to ask Vrabel tomorrow at practice, if you were to say to Vrabel, hey, you guys have DeMarcus Walker starting at defensive end and Danico Autry at outside linebacker, and I expect somebody will ask Vrabel about this, but if you ask Vrabel about that, he would say something like, oh, yeah, you got to talk, PR did that, you got to talk to Robbie about that. Or
they're
whatever.
totally going to write it off as this wasn't anything that we endorsed, this is just what we have to do.
Now, let me ask you a question. Harold Landry goes down.
Uh-huh.
You think that Robbie Bourne is the one who put out, that Robbie Bourne say, you know what? Let's move Autry to outside linebacker.
No.
Of course not.
No, of course not.
And I love Robbie Bourne. He's a great PR guy. But of
He's
course
not that
he
great,
did.
though.
He's not
not
walking
making game time
He's not
decisions.
walking into the office saying, "Hey guys, here's what we're doing today." So that to me was at least worth noting for everyone. Weaver will step in and he will, not according to this. Now he'll play.
And he will play.
But not, this is saying that DeMarcus Walker, who they love, Vrabel loves DeMarcus Walker. This says DeMarcus Walker's the man. So, I don't know. Make of that what you will. What do we have in our phones?
Josh texts in and says, I think everybody's panicking over Harold Landry for no reason. Landry has been with the Titans for 4 years and has had one good season of double-digit sacks. Jim Schwartz is the reason Landry had better production.
I think he had 10 sacks in 2019.
I have his stats pulled up right now.
I want to say he was a 9-sack guy. So he was a 9-sack guy then, and he was a double-digit sack guy last year.
12 this past year, 5.5 2020, 9 2019, 4.5 2018.
Guys, let's not make Landry more than what he was. He wasn't Warren Sapp. Let's not make him what he wasn't. He's a 10-sack guy.
Also, to this texter's point, saying Jim Schwartz was the reason why Harold Landry had better production as far as sacks. I don't know that.
Let me say this about Jim Schwartz.
Does anybody know that?
Have you ever heard of a player that used to play on the Titans by the name of Deron Jenkins?
I do not know who that is.
So Deron Jenkins not only played at the University of Tennessee and for the Tennessee Titans, but he also played for the Nashville Cats, which was the Arena Football League team that I used to love as a kid, and then when they brought them back, I didn't really care about them anymore. But the Nashville Cats was where Deron Jenkins belonged. And he had the nickname with the Titans for one season as a corner of Toast. And the reason, I think you all can assume why his nickname was Toast.
Not a name you want to have as a corner.
It was very consistent.
Burnt.
And so it's funny because I told my dad the other day, when the Utah was playing Florida, I go, who's the best player in the history of the Titans from Utah? And my dad was like, I don't know who. And I said, well, many people would tell you that it's Kevin Dyson, but I would argue it's Andre Dyson, who was a corner that the Titans drafted as soon as they realized they had to go get another corner opposite Samari Rolle because Toast was not cutting it. Deron Jenkins. So I've seen Jim Schwartz when he's had to coach up bad units. And I've seen the results of the 2001 Titans defense that almost got Jim Schwartz fired. So I know when he's got bad players, it's amazing how many people think that good coaches can win without good players. They can't. And so I don't believe any team loses a Harold Landry, that they are paying the kind of money that they're paying to Harold Landry, loses a Harold Landry, doesn't replace that Harold Landry in the draft, and then is just fine. And that's what the Titans are right now. That's where they are as far as the idea that Jim Schwartz did all of this. That's a hot take.
But I don't think it's fair to say that he did or didn't do anything because we don't know what he did.
Well, we also don't know that. But I don't think it's fair to say that Jim Schwartz is going to get DeMarcus Walker, who was.
I don't think this defense was a Jim Schwartz away from being abysmal to elite.
Look, Danico Autry had 9 sacks last year. Like, people have to understand that. Like, Danico Autry.
He had 12 sacks last year.
Landry had 12.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Danico Autry had 9 sacks last year. He was, as far as money is concerned, and this isn't totally fair because Landry and Simmons were on rookie deals, but for what they were getting out of him, he's the 4th guy. Bud's making 19. Landry, I think, now is making somewhere around that. Simmons will make somewhere around 25, maybe 28 when he comes due. Autry's making 7. And he had 9 sacks last year.
And I think the whole point of Danico Autry bringing him in was be the Robin to Jeffrey Simmons' Batman.
Right. They got good players. Like, that's what changed.
It was supplemental to the good players.
They had 4 spots. They had 2 guys they already liked. They went out, got 2 other guys, and it all clicked at the end, and they got 9 sacks in a playoff game and still somehow miraculously lost.
And that just kind of emphasizes the importance of, with the defensive line and the offensive line too, it's not just about individual players. It's about the unit as a whole. I mean, you can have 2 absolute dogs in Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, but it's about the rest of the line and the unit as a whole, how they're able to supplement each other. And that's why losing Harold Landry is so big. It's not just about his individual production, which is pretty darn good. It's about losing part of that unit that's concerning.
Okay, Peter King had some takes I want to get to, and then I want to get to your phones some more, 615-737-1025. But I don't agree with the takes, but I do like the thinking, and I'll explain why. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 102.5-1063 The Game.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches.
We are.
We got pass rushers.
Checkered flag in the air.
Awesome game 7.
What a stop made by UC Sarah.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Football is finally here, and if you're out at Nissan Stadium for a tailgate, catching kickoff at your favorite bar, or just curled up on the couch, be sure you're sipping on a Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Hey, what's up? It's Chase McKay. By now, you all got to know how much I love Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Game days can get pretty busy. I'm always sure to unwind with a chilled Screwball. There's nothing like it. Be sure to make Screwball your official drink of choice this season, just like me, the suit. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Kick off week 1 with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action. Then you can turn game day into payday all season long. Tons of great bets to make for week 1, and I think right now everybody feels pretty good about the Titans against the Giants. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, General Manager at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are the go-to spot in Nashville for the best old-fashioned, a nice relaxing cigar, and lots of high-end spirits and wine. Are cigars not your thing? No problem. We have the best ventilation system in the industry that provides a fresh, clean atmosphere for you and your friends. We are here to provide you a trendy, upscale experience in the heart of downtown. Check us out at 508 Church Street. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Luxury redefined.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live in the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So Peter King, Football Morning in America. First of all, let me say this. I think Peter King has the best job in America. Like, the best job.
With the fact that he can just put things out there and then nobody holds him accountable?
No, it's not that. It's because like having an opinion is just having an opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you hold somebody accountable on an opinion, right?
You can't really.
You know, it's not like, be at the town square at 4 a.m. We're going to hang Johnny because he thought that the Bills were going to beat the Seahawks. You know, it's so, I mean, again, it's opinion. But Peter King is so connected in the NFL. If Peter King calls, almost everybody responds. Now, I'm not sure exactly what Peter King actually knows about football. I don't think Peter King could walk into a film room and all of a sudden start dissecting what's going on in the tape. That's never been what he's done. That's not what he's about. But Peter King pens one column a week and probably makes millions penning one column a week, can write whatever he wants. When Peter King doesn't do that column, I don't read it. But when Peter King does it, I read it. I care about Peter King. And it's like the things that he gets to do. He got to ride the bus with John Madden one time across the country because he wrote for Sports Illustrated. And again, he goes to every training camp and says, oh, Peter King's here, everybody. Peter King. And so I just think Peter King has the best job. So Peter King put out his predictions for the season. And I want to give a congratulations to Peter King because Peter King did something that I feel like most people are afraid to do, which is he went out on some limbs. Now, he's got Buffalo playing Green Bay in the Super Bowl, so it's not exactly like he...
groundbreaking, but the path to get there is spicy.
So he's got the Chargers, not the Chiefs winning the West, which a lot of people, I think, are defaulting to the Chiefs. He's got the Titans winning the AFC South. Now, his logic, I'm not totally there with because he writes, slight nod over the Colts by virtue of Tennessee averaging 35 a game against Indy in their last 3 meetings, all wins. Well, I mean, that's kind of cherry picking, right? Like, why did we pick 3? Why don't we pick 4? Oh, the one where the Titans lost, they had 2 bad punts. And on top of it, the
last 3 meetings.
Yeah, the last 3.
It's easy to cut it off at 3.
Including the one where the Titans went to Indianapolis, and Danico Autry, DeForest Buckner, and Jonathan Taylor all got COVID and didn't play, and Derrick Henry had almost 200 yards at halftime.
Those are just nitpicky facts.
Okay.
Don't need to throw those in there.
Just saying about Peter. He's got New Orleans as the number 1 seed in the NFC. Peter King writes, note of the week, the Saints have beaten Tom Brady's Bucs in all 4 regular season meetings, and none of the 4 have been a one-score game. Now, okay.
That's true.
That's fair.
For some reason, New Orleans has Tampa Bay's number.
Except in the playoffs where Brady went in there and kicked that ass.
When it matters.
So he's got them as the number 1 seed New Orleans.
Which is so bold.
It is bold. He's got Minnesota ahead of Tampa Bay, although he does have Tampa Bay making the playoffs. The reason I bring this up, because, again, like I said, I like Peter King, and I think Peter King's got the best job covering football in America. But the reason I bring this up is because the one thing that I guarantee you Peter King is right about is there's going to be somebody, I would assume, that comes out of nowhere and does, and wins one of these divisions. I mean, I feel pretty confident right now in saying that the Packers are going to win the NFC North, the Buccaneers are going to win the NFC South, the Bills are going to win the AFC East, the Rams or 49ers. I like Trey Lance more than everybody else does, but I think most people would say the Rams are going to win the West. There's one other division where it's obvious who's going to win. Dallas. And people are going to say, okay, the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East.
But also, where does Philadelphia come into the equation?
My thing is, one of these teams is going to dominate, and nobody sees it coming, and I don't know who it is. So it could be Minnesota. Like Colin Cowherd thinks that Minnesota is going to win 16 games this season. Now, I think that's nuts. And even when I talk about a team coming out of nowhere, I'm thinking more along the lines of like a team that loses 4 games that was probably supposed to lose 8 games. And then I was thinking it through in my head, again, to give props to Peter King about his Saints. Now, I'm not a huge believer that Jameis and Dennis Allen are going to be the number 1 team. But every year it feels like, just off the top of my head, 2016, the Falcons. Nobody saw those Falcons coming. That team didn't make the playoffs the year before. They started off like 5-0. They lost every game down the stretch. And I think they went 7-9. And the next year, number 1 seed in the Super Bowl. The next year, the Eagles, number 1 seed and in the Super Bowl. The next year, Kansas City, people had kind of forgotten about because they hadn't seen Mahomes play. And they were number 1 seed, lost to the Patriots in overtime in the AFC Championship game. But even the Bears with Trubisky won their division that year. And that was when old Buddy doinked it off the uprights again. And so every year, that was, and then 2019, Who was up? San Francisco, picking number 2 in the draft. San Francisco's in the Super Bowl. The next year, 2020. Who was it 2020 that shocked everybody? Buffalo. In 2020, Josh Allen was a game manager. Now all of a sudden he's throwing the ball down the field on every play. And then last year, obviously the Bengals.
Cincinnati, yeah.
Like every year there's one of these teams. And so while I don't agree with Peter King and I'm like, whoa, New Orleans is a number 1 seed. I'm like, that's a hot take. I do think it's going to be one of these teams. And so here are the teams that it could be. Like, I don't count Baltimore being good as one of those teams.
I don't think that's a come-from-behind surprise team, no.
Arizona, Atlanta, Carolina, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Houston, Jacksonville, Miami, New England, Minnesota, New Orleans, the Giants, the Jets, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Washington.
And there are a lot of teams in there that...
You were like, suck.
Well, the teams
like
in there, the majority of those teams suck. Like, I don't think the Jets are going to be the come-from-behind.
The Bears.
The Bears are not going to be the come-from-behind team and nobody expects is going to be good.
But so one of these teams has to.
But there are some teams in there. I look at New Orleans, Minnesota. I mean, there are some teams in there that it would make sense. Because look at 2021 Bengals. You got your quarterback, and now you finally get your quarterback at least a serviceable target. A target that was his favorite in college. That makes sense. Nobody would have predicted it. I didn't predict it. I don't think you predicted it. No. But it made sense.
More people bet on the Texans last year than bet on the Bengals.
And the Texans suck.
Okay, so let's think about it like this. Let's pick one of these random teams. Minnesota.
Okay.
So you just tell me off the top of your head, win or loss, when I just give you the game. Minnesota, Green Bay at home.
Loss.
At Philadelphia.
Loss.
Detroit at home.
Win.
At New Orleans.
Win.
Ooh. Chicago at home.
Win.
At Miami.
Win.
A dome team going to Miami.
Yeah. What is so tough about playing in Miami?
Oh, dude. A lot of these teams go to Miami. They're not very good. You saw Utah the other day out there in Gainesville.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they were like freaking cramping on every play.
I mean, I just don't believe in Miami, honestly.
I
don't believe in Tua.
I know. They got a lot of players, man. Arizona.
Win.
At Washington.
Win.
At Buffalo.
Loss.
Dallas.
Loss.
New England.
Win.
The Jets.
Win.
At Detroit.
Win.
Indy.
Loss.
Giants.
Win.
Green Bay.
Loss.
Chicago.
Win.
Now you gave him 5. I think you gave him 5 losses.
Either 11-6 or 12-5.
12-5 for the Vikings.
If Peter King has them going 11-6.
So, okay. One of these teams.
But also
it's
on
like
that
we went
schedule,
over the Lions. We went over the Lions yesterday.
And they have a super easy schedule.
But they also stink. And everybody looks at them on their schedule and says the Lions stink.
But also on that schedule, like, it's really easy to look at a schedule and say, oh, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a loss. If we would have done that with the Titans season last year, we would have been completely wrong. We would have thought they would have lost to the Texans.
The big key, though, in one of these teams turning it around is that they're going to get a bad schedule.
Yeah.
Like, that is the key to this, is that, and this is why this always happens. This is why the NFL schedules the way they schedule, is because they don't want the same teams to win all the time. They want every team to have hope.
Right.
And they're going into week 1. And so, whereas the Titans have to play Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, Jacksonville, for instance, the same games that the Titans don't get, or the 3 that change, instead of at Green Bay on a Thursday night in December, Jacksonville goes to Detroit. Instead of to Buffalo for week number 2, Jacksonville goes to the Jets. And instead of hosting the Bengals, Jacksonville does have to play Baltimore. So there is, that's the whole point, is that these teams are supposed to have bad schedules. So, I mean, one of these teams, I don't know who it is. One of these teams is going to do it, though. And that's just how the league works every year. So I will give Peter King, I will say bravo to Peter King, because at least he recognizes the obvious, which is it's not going to be the way that we all think it's going to be. 615-737-1025. We'll get back into your phone. 615-737-1025. Plus, I was a little surprised, Peter King, if he's going to go out on a limb, I'm a little surprised that he would pick Tennessee to win the division, because I think you're going to see some picks over the next couple of days of something that I was not expecting, but I could see it. That might be strong. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Jewelry business, it's in my blood. I've been doing it all my life, and it's my passion.
Meet Daniel Sabalas, a third-generation jeweler at Genesis Diamonds.
This line of work, it's all about honesty and trust. It's about building relationships.
And that's what drew Daniel to Genesis, where it's all about education, transparency, and respect for each customer.
It's based on a family business mentality, and that's how we are. We're here to educate, to guide you, and we make it very easy. So we really go out of our way to educate customers in the right way. There's no stress level, there's no tension. The customer can feel that.
All this while providing the guaranteed best value price.
I've never seen a company that has the best price like this that I've seen anywhere. We are a powerhouse of diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds. No commission salespeople, no pricing games, no risk, no pressure, no cutting corners.
Genesis Diamonds is going to give you the best price, best quality, guaranteed, no matter what.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Old Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
As a roofer, every second counts. Late deliveries and incomplete orders cost me time and money. That's why I partner with Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. Every branch working together. With Beacon, I know my supplies will be delivered on time and complete. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Go to BECN.com to get started building with Beacon. Beacon, always building.
Men, what if I told you that now you are able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMD4Men.com.
It's time for another Kubota Field event hosted by Coleman Tractor of Nashville. Our biggest sales event of the year takes place on Thursday, September 15th at the Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Fun Shoot. Don't miss this perfect opportunity to demo tractors, zero-turn mowers, utility vehicles, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers. Receive a coupon for up to $250. Plus, enter to win an Orca cooler. Try it and buy it at Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Fun Shoot for Coleman Tractor of Nashville's Kubota Field event, Thursday, September 15th. The event kicks off at 7:30 a.m.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman & Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Trevor Lawrence here on SiriusXM NFL Radio. Started off with this. If I asked you for one word to describe this Jaguars training camp, what word would it be and why?
I would say just focused. I think our crew, our coaches included, our whole team, everybody's been really intense. The intensity's been great. Focus has been really, really good. I think everybody here has something to prove, whether you were on this team last year and have that taste in your mouth, or you're a guy that just came in who has something to prove. The Jags brought all those guys in for a reason. I think those guys have a chip on their shoulder too, to want to prove they're the player that this organization believes they are, so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot of things that go into that, but I think everybody's just been on the offensive side of the ball really unselfish. We got a lot of new pieces moving around, and you're always you're always interested to see how that's going to work, and I think the guys just gel really well. And then 2, just really focused and locked in. And, obviously in camp you have your up and down days, but I think really we've been steady for the most part, which has been really good to see.
There you go, Trevor Lawrence, man. I see people, they talk about Jacksonville like, don't count Jacksonville out now. Doug Peterson's their head coach. Are you buying the Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson hype?
Not this year, but I do think that Jacksonville can be one of those teams that can be on watch in the next couple of years. Like how I said, none of us predicted it. It made sense that Cincinnati was that breakout team last year because they got their quarterback and they got his top target. Well, Jacksonville got their top quarterback, They got him a target in Christian Kirk. I don't think it's on the same level as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but it's at least a serviceable wide receiver. And a better coach. They at least don't have a coach that puts his fingers in other people's butts. So I do think that Jacksonville can be that team, not necessarily this year, but at least in the near future. But for right now, I am selling on Jacksonville.
I think here's my thing on Jacksonville. I don't know if Lawrence is going to be good or not, but I watched Clemson play last night, so it makes me think he is, because that team freaking sucks. Like that Clemson, and I shouldn't say they freaking suck. They don't suck, but
last night
to
was
Clemson
not
standards, great. They're not. I mean, it is. Well, here's what's crazy. It's like we're talking about Kirby Smart. And I was reading in, I believe, Sports Illustrated or something. They were talking about Kirby Smart and how, like, Denver or Green Bay drafted 2 guys straight out of Georgia. And then they're like, immediately those guys are starting. Like, immediately they're starting. They know the playbooks. They know what to do. They know whatever. Just stayed at the same hotel as Quay Walker did at one point.
Nice.
But they know all this stuff or whatever. And, Kirby, just every year it's more people in and more people out. And it's clear after what Georgia did on Saturday that they're going to keep, kind of doing that for a while. Alabama does that every year. Clemson, if they don't get the elite quarterback, they're not very good because they were not very good when they had Kelly Bryant. I know they made the playoff, but they got smoked in it. And, they were not, they pulled him out real quick to put Trevor Lawrence in. They win the national championship. And they won it with Deshaun. And so this DJ Uiagalelei is supposed to be the next guy. He clearly wasn't that last year. They made every excuse in the book for him. I'm watching him last night. I'm like, this guy cannot play quarterback. Not on a good team.
Mm-mm.
So maybe Trevor is that guy just based off of that. Phones are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Also, new rule. If Georgia Tech's not going to run the triple option, do not put them on TV. If they're going to run the triple option, put them on TV. But if they're not going to, no thank you. Brad has been waiting patiently on the A.J. Brown, Harold Landry absence from the Titans. Thank you for calling. What's up, Brad?
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to say, so obviously we've lost a huge key contributor on offense and one on defense. And I think that the way that the team is going to go to replace them, I think the results are going to be quite a bit different. I agree with you wholeheartedly on Harold Landry. That defensive core, the front seven, the cast is coming back 100%, and then you're taking out Landry. So you're going to have a net negative. There's no logical explanation that this defense could be as good as it was last year, period. But on the offense is where I really disagree with you. So you're talking about A.J., but in reality, if you look at the top 5 pass catchers from last year, you're talking about A.J., Westbrook-Akina, Julio, Chester, Rogers, and Ferkser. Is our number 1 going to be as good as A.J.? Probably not, even close. But our 2 through 5 are going to be vastly improved. And I'm going to go out and tell you that I think from a yardage and touchdown standpoint, I think our top 5 pass catchers will be way better than our top 5 from last year. So is A.J. going to be replaced? No. But the whole cast of the offense is replacing a lot more than the defense. So I don't
completely disagree with what you're saying, Brad. No. That's a good call. The problem is that even if that is okay, so instead of having to rely on Chester Rogers, now they can throw the ball to Treylon Burks, and Treylon Burks is a little bit better than Chester Rogers. That's a positive, and that Robert Woods is definitely better than Julio Jones, and that Austin Hooper definitely is better than Anthony Ferkser. I don't disagree with that. But without A.J. Brown in there, then all you're really going to do is pull yourself back up to the 2021 level, and the 2021 level wasn't good enough.
And
what they had to do is pull themselves up to the 2020 level. And there's no way that they can put themselves at the 2020 level right now.
And I think I worry, too, because I'm with you. I don't disagree with that caller that there's more depth probably with the pass catchers this year, but it's the lack of a go-to guy for Ryan Tannehill. That's exactly what A.J. Brown was for Tannehill last year. He could just lob the ball up, and he trusted A.J. Brown to
But that's not really what Tannehill does. Like, Tannehill, when he was rolling in 2019 and even in 2020, he was a spread it around.
But he did that plenty. 49ers game, for example.
No, that was by necessity. Tannehill doesn't want to have a go-to guy. And just the way that I've seen him throw the ball to Rashard Davis in a playoff game, like to get to the playoffs kind of game, that's not, like, when he's clicking, that's not what he's doing.
Well,
he was doing that
the ball
because
around
he
a
was
good
not
bit
clicking.
last year. I mean, to Chester Rogers and Westbrook Akine. And
No,
Anthony
but once he got
Firkser
into the real games, he just started throwing the ball.
He went to AJ.
But the idea of, like, a good Tannehill is spreading the ball around even with AJ on the field. Terrell is up next here on Stillman & Company. Thank you for calling. What's up, Terrell?
Hey, look here. I love y'all and everything. So, look here. Now, to that other caller and to what you just said, and Joe Rexroad, I know you and him have his problems, but Joe said something this morning that I agree with, that all last year was all a lot of the OC situation. I think we did become kind of predictable, and I think that's going to be the thing, bringing in the guy, forgot his name, who's going to be the passing assistant. Yeah, I think he's going to change a little bit mid-option. But my main thing I wanted to tell you, ask you, you've been through all the scrimmages and everything. I haven't got a chance to, and we didn't see the ones during the preseason. I am so scared, and I apologize to Caroline when there's this next statement, that we're going to look like LSU and just look horrible and not in sync. So can you tell me from all your analysts, will these ones, when they go play against the Giants, regardless of how Landry and everything, that there's going to be like...
I will say it to you. Yes, I think that is a fair question. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate your call. I think the defense will be fine, especially against the Giants. I do worry about it with the offense, especially the offensive line. Like, I do worry that, remember last year when they played Arizona and the offensive line was totally out of whack and Chandler Jones got like 10 sacks, and I do worry about it with the offense. I do worry that there will be somewhat of an acclimation process. Derrick Henry doesn't practice very much, so it'll probably take him a little bit to get going. The right tackle. I mean, look, the last scrimmage that I covered when they scrimmaged Tampa Bay, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer got an illegal procedure penalty because his helmet was not beyond the waistline of the center, which I didn't even know was a rule.
I've never even heard of that before.
But that's a rule, and those things are going to matter. And can they hold the pocket for Tannehill? That's going to affect literally everything that they do. So I do worry, to his point, about it looking like, oh my God, did the Titans even practice? Because that's how I felt watching LSU on Sunday night. They can't even catch a punt. It's like, do they practice? And I do kind of worry about that because, Kyle Phillips had some muffs in practice that I saw, and he made the huge mistake that he turned into a positive against Tampa Bay when he fielded the ball in the end zone and tried to take it out. I worry about that a little bit. I worry about the rookie punter who hasn't been great at catching the punt. I mean, even the Titans have told the other punter, hey, man, stick around. Here's a bag of balls.
Don't
stick
go too
around.
far.
Don't go to Buffalo on us or anything like that. Don't get crazy
Don't
here.
put your house on the market.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say that I probably worry about little things that could cost him a game, but I would probably worry about those little things costing him a game anyway. So I'm not sure that really makes much of a difference. I will say I do think that the continuity is somewhat important for the Titans. They have a lot of that. The whole passing game coordinator being the saving grace of the team. Again, if the passing game coordinator is not the guy who puts over his mouth the little laminated play card and calls out 29 Eagle Z Queen X25 radio, if he's not the guy who does that, then I'm not sure how much it matters because, and I didn't hear what Joe said, but just basing off of the caller's take there about how they were too predictable on offense and Tim Kelly will change that. Well, if Tim Kelly's not calling the plays, is Todd Downing in a 20-second window? Because, again, play-ins, clock starts at 40, it shuts off at 15. So he's got to tell Tannehill by at least 15 what's in there. They got to break the huddle by like 9 in order to get everybody lined up. And then Tannehill has to make his checks and everything else. Like, is he going to sit there and say, double scoot, spider Y, eagle, banana X. And then Tim Kelly said, no, 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 no.
Well, I feel like there's this perception among Titans fans that enter Jim Schwartz in 2021. The defense is a top 10 defense in the NFL. And I think a lot of people are viewing Tim Kelly as being the same solution to the offense this year as Jim Schwartz was last year, even though Jim Schwartz might not have done anything. I don't know what he did last year. I don't know what Tim Kelly's doing this year.
The worst thing to do for a young quarterback is to change the coordinator on him. Like, you really don't want to do that. The Texans fired Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly was not David Culley's offensive coordinator. He was Bill O'Brien's. And so he ran the offense after O'Brien got fired and then ran it under Culley. Culley got fired, and they promoted the defensive coach, Lovie Smith, and they fired Tim Kelly. Now, the Texans are a poorly run organization. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. But if he was such a good coach, somebody would have hired him to coach, not to be the senior passing analyst. And there's a part of me that thinks that Vrabel is too stubborn. He wanted to hire Tim Kelly when Arthur Smith left, and then he couldn't hire Tim Kelly because the Texans wouldn't let him, and then he didn't fire Downing. And I believe that what I call the anti-Downites will be right there as soon as this thing gets bad, if it gets bad. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. We'll get to your phones, but there's one thing that I really, really am tired of talking about. And I haven't even talked about it yet, but it's almost like I'm
You're already tired of it?
Preemptively tired of talking about this because it's going to be a thing. I can just see it. We'll get to that coming up next here on the program. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. The start of the NFL season is here, and the best place to practice your touchdown dance is on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and my official sportsbook app. FanDuel is kicking off week 1 with a no-sweat bet for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a new customer or already have an account. You'll get free bets back if you don't win. Just log in and see for yourself. I will say right now, I still expect the Titans to beat the Giants. I can't get too into the Giants game because the Giants are so bad and have been so bad for so long, but I do expect the Titans to somewhat easily beat the Giants. New to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to get started. That's promo code JGM. Either way, celebrate the return of football season with a no-sweat bet during week 1. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt, and restrictions apply. Max refund is $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
It's finally here.
Titans on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Game week for the two-tone blue.
Talking Titans?
What final preparations do Mike Vrabel and company need to make as the Titans get ready to take on the Giants?
They're going to really have to elevate their games a little more consistently up front.
Why couldn't it be Rashad Weaver really stepping up?
I mean, he's looked good in the preseason. He looked good in camp.
Keep it locked here for Nashville's best Titans talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Titans touchdown!
And the Game Nashville app.
Some people were made to follow the instructions. We were made to make our own. To always measure twice and never cut corners. Unless, of course, we've got a compound miter saw. Northern Tool and Equipment is a problem solver's paradise. There's nothing we can't find, fix, or figure out together. We're made for this. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com.
Hey, it's Chad Withrow. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free. They've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs and to separate your fragile items from the bulk of your furniture. And their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call at 615-640-1219 or online at nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Chad referred you for 10% off.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Ability being as big a quality as it is, how much do you guys factor in Gordon's lack of availability over the course of his career?
Well, those are things that, really are out of our control. I mean, I think we'll look at how he handles, each day, and if he is, it would anticipate him being available to us. But I wouldn't look at anything in the past, and we're excited to work with him and see how he develops within our offense.
Hey, we're excited to see what Josh Gordon's got, putting him on the practice squad. That was Vrabel. I'm already tired about talking about this, and we haven't really talked about it much because they signed Josh Gordon to the practice squad, and then after they signed Josh Gordon to the practice squad, Derrick Henry signed a contract that didn't really make a lot of sense until we had the context of why he was signing it. Then Harold Landry was out for the season. But I'm already tired of talking about this. Ian said this during one of the breaks yesterday of like, oh, people really think Josh Gordon's going to play, huh? And I was like, oh, no.
Well, they thought that about Adrian Peterson.
Did you hear what
that
Derek said
Golden
today?
Tate.
Did you hear what Derek said today?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So Derek is the greatest wide receiver in the history of the Titans. On the midday show today, he was talking about Josh Gordon. And he said this.
If we can hit on this, it's better than anything we've had over the last 5 seasons. The talent is better than any player they've had over the last 5 seasons. And I'll put that on anything.
Oh, no.
Including Josh Gordon?
Well, he's talking about Josh
Talking about Josh Gordon?
He's
going to
saying
hit on Josh
if they
Gordon?
hit on Josh Gordon, that he's got more talent than any wide receiver that the Titans have had over the last 5 years. And let's use Adrian Peterson as the example here.
Okay.
Adrian Peterson is better than any running back his career. The Adrian Peterson that we'll remember was better than any running back the Titans have ever had, and that includes Derrick Henry and Eddie George.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson is like a top 3 running back of all time.
He's a Hall of Famer
He
for
is
sure.
Gold
First ballot
jacket
Hall of
through
Famer.
and through. I mean, when we talk about Adrian Peterson, it's Adrian Peterson, Emmitt Smith, Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, Barry Sanders. Like, he sits at that lunch table in the Hall of Fame. But he wasn't better than Deontay Foreman or Dontrell Hilliard. And the reality with Josh Gordon, I watched the Josh Gordon tape from Kansas City. I talked to my buddy who does the midday show I used to work with in Louisville. He now does the midday show in Kansas City. I asked him if Josh Gordon was any good. He said no. He said that they wouldn't know. I asked him, could Josh Gordon still run? Because the key to Josh Gordon was his ability to run. And he said no. And he said that the touchdown that he scored last year for the Chiefs was a touchdown that I could have scored. And that I think he started 7 games last year, and he had 32 total yards receiving for Kansas City. He got cut by the Chiefs. I went and watched the tape. He didn't do anything. Like, he didn't do anything in the preseason games that I watched. He doesn't look fast anymore. Like, I just do not want to do all this talking about Josh Gordon, because here's what's going to happen. Treylon Burks is not going to step in and be A.J. Brown right away. The offense is going to start slow because Derrick Henry traditionally is a slow starter. They're going to have to break in the right tackle. It's going to be a work in progress. Even this Giants game on Sunday, I would not predict the Titans to score 40 points. I think this is going to be a work in progress. Well, people are going to get frustrated with it being a work in progress. They're playing the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be throwing the ball to Nick Westbrook-Akine. We know Nick Westbrook-Akine is not that good. And people are going to be like, what about Josh Gordon? Josh Gordon! Josh Gordon! Like, guys, he's a practice squad player. And all the talent.
It's quite literally where he is right now.
All the talent that made him Josh Gordon, it's gone. It's all gone.
And don't you think that, and I haven't seen Josh Gordon, but don't you think that if he did something that wowed the Titans, that he did something worthy of calling him, a hit, like Derek mentioned, saying that if they hit on Josh Gordon, don't you think he'd be maybe above Nick Westbrook-Ikine?
So there is one thing that I don't understand. The practice squad rules have changed so much that the way that it used to be and the way that it is not the same. The Cowboys signed Jason Peters to the practice squad, and most people think he's going to start at left tackle for them.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I don't know. The one thing I will say about the Titans is that they are paying all of their veteran players the maximum amount of money allowed on the practice squad. There is a range in which they can negotiate with guys, and they are paying all the veteran players like Chris Jackson and Josh Gordon, and that they're paying them all the max. And that does count against cap. So I would just say keep that in mind. But, yeah, we're not going to – the Josh Gordon thing, it's just he's not a good player anymore. He's a practice squad player. I've seen it. I've talked to people about it. Again, 32 yards last season with Kansas City. If he could run, he would have had more than 32 yards on one catch with Kansas City last season.
And that's Kansas City.
That was my point.
They
throw every pass more than 32 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Adam is up next and has been waiting patiently. What's up, Adam?
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's like when those wide receivers lose their legs. It's just sad. But, no, so you were talking about Trevor Lawrence, Jared. I don't think I know you've been kind of high on him since he got in the league. You were really high on him like 2 or 3 years before he was even drafted. You were like, this guy's number one. Well, I think, and this goes to you saying Malik needs time. I think how these quarterbacks start is very important, and I think the Urban year is going to set that dude back. I don't think he's going to be a good quarterback in the league. The same thing that happened with Gabbert. Gabbert was supposed to be pretty good. Blake Bortles was supposed to be really good. He had every trait coming out of college, and they both sucked. They were both bitten by Jacksonville. They were stuck in Jacksonville, and I think it's the same thing is happening with him. I just don't think the program's good enough for him.
So I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate your call. That's why I thought that when they drafted Trevor Lawrence that Urban Meyer was going to ruin him. And I truly believe that if Urban had gotten a second year, he would have ruined him. That he would have ruined Trevor Lawrence if they had gotten to year 2. I was so hopeful that they were going to ruin him. And that, no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence, but he plays for the Jags, but that's why, And that's where the two things that I was so happy about as a Titan fan was the Carson Wentz trade from Philadelphia to Indianapolis, because I knew you couldn't win anything with Carson Wentz, and what they gave up to get him and what he was costing them. I mean, it was so the idea when they traded for him that they would then get sick of him after a year and punt on him was so unbelievably impossible to think about, because they invested so much that he really did stink it up, maybe even worse than I thought he was going to stink it up. And with Urban Meyer, I knew he was going to stink it up. I knew it. The late Mark Howard and I got in a big argument about that, because Mark was like, Urban, he knows football. I'm like, Mark, no.
Urban can't get out of his own way.
I was like, the problem with Urban is that he's so controlling, and that can work in college, but it does not work in the NFL because these guys make more money. They don't give a damn about you. They don't have to give a damn about you. NFL players, college players look at the coach like, that's Dean Smith.
That's my coach.
Pro players look at it like, you're just a coach. I don't need you. And so I knew that was going to happen in Jacksonville. I was just hopeful that they had invested so much money into Urban that they would give him a second year, because the owner's a doofus. And unfortunately, both Carson Wentz and Urban screwed it up to where by the second year, now all of a sudden I have to worry about something else. And if Trevor's one of those guys, like one of the elite guys, let's not compare him to Blaine Gabbert, because nobody ever looked at Blaine Gabbert as a Peyton Manning level prospect. Nobody ever looked at him in the same discussions with Andrew Luck or Joe Burrow or Michael Vick or some of the guys that have come out. They did look that way about Trevor Lawrence. If he's one of those guys, he overcomes the bad coaching, because that's what those guys do. Terry Bradshaw was sat on the bench at one point in his career. Doesn't matter. Terry Bradshaw overcame it, because if you're one of those guys, you overcome bad coaching. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get back into your phones here on the program. There is one really hilarious thing that I absolutely love that I do want to get to next. 615-737-1025. And it's the biggest story in the NFL. So we'll do that coming up as well. Hey, Silly Underdog picks are back. Pick 3 football underdog teams you think will win this week for a chance to win great prizes. Play now at theGameNashville.com or the 1025 The Game app. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus today. Humid but a little below average. High temperatures in the middle 80s this afternoon. A chance for a few more isolated showers and storms during the afternoon hours. Morning stays dry, and we'll continue that trend going into your Wednesday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, summer's over, but is that joint pain still there? Well, it's time to do something. Willie Donick here, and I want to tell you about QC Kinetics. You've put it off long enough. It's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, your back, your shoulder, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body, and it restores and repairs the damaged joint tissue. Plus, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they're living life to the fullest pain-free. So don't assume that the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Stop putting it off. Call for a free consultation. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Once again, 615-249-4024.
Attention sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. You need a sportsbook with integrity, longevity, and you need to know you're gonna get paid. You need a sportsbook that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and they will walk you through setting up an account. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention BetUS 2022, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the game begins.
National Playmakers Academy with former Vols Buck Fitzgerald and James Stone, along with former Austin Peay Governor Vic Wright, offer one of the best football developmental organizations in the nation. MPA has over 30 NFL alumni, 800-plus college football scholarship signees, and 25 high school football All-Americans. If you have a student athlete in middle school or high school that is looking for the best football training and college football recruiting help around, contact National Playmakers Academy today, 615-456-2680, or email april.mpafootball@gmail.com.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Still in the company here on the program. So this Lamar Jackson contract, I want to get to this before I get back to your phones. So the Lamar Jackson contract drama, it's like this thing, right? Where people are saying, he deserves a better contract than Deshaun. And it's like, yeah, he's not going to get that. And people have such a hard time understanding it. The NFL literally negotiates their collective bargaining agreements so that it minimizes Lamar's leverage. Lamar wants as Jay Glazer has reported, He wants the Deshaun Watson contract, $230 million guaranteed. He thinks he's better, and he probably is. And so he wants that, which would normally make sense, except for the fact that if the Ravens don't pay it to him, they'll just franchise him. And then, if they don't pay it to him, then they'll franchise him again. And then they'll franchise him again. Now, those numbers are a lot. In the third year, it'd be $55 million on the tag. But that's still only $124 million, and it wouldn't be guaranteed, and every year he'd have to earn it, as opposed to the $170 million guaranteed that he'd probably get with signing a deal with the Ravens today. So everybody now has all these theories about one way or another or anything else, and Michael Irvin and Stephen A. Smith were arguing about the Lamar Jackson contract. This is the video. And I did cut it off at the end, but I didn't feel like they were going anywhere with this. This is the video that they posted on Twitter of Stephen A. and Michael Irvin's breakdown. And let me ask everybody a question before we play this clip. Do you know what these guys are arguing?
I mean, I do.
No. Play the clip, Nick.
What about the fact that Lamar Jackson had said weeks ago, the deadline is week 1?
Right.
He did say that now. He hasn't hid that from anybody.
And I wish he would have stepped away right then. Because it gives me an opportunity, it gives the team an opportunity to prepare for game 1. You don't take us up to game 1 because now you got us up to game 1. All of my preparation, now everybody on this team has done is going down the drain because we prepared with you. And we didn't know that you were not going to be here.
But
you
he
can't
told
do this
them.
to him. He didn't say he was not going to play. He said he wants the deal done by the first game or he's going to shut down the talks. Yes, that should have been pressure on the Ravens. But unfortunately, if Lamar walks away, nobody's going to blame the Ravens. They're going to blame Lamar on that football team. And then the players are going to win and beat the Jets without Lamar Jackson, which will make it worse for him, I think.
To you here.
Yes, I understand that. I understand.
Embrace the moment because it's rare. I'm deferring to you. Are you
get out of here. Don't try to take that moment away from me. Just defer and let it go.
Do you know what they were talking about?
I feel like I just had two different sets of headphones. They were like playing two very different things, and I put one earphone and the other earphone together. That's how it felt listening to that. I have a headache.
I think most people assumed that they were like both on remote where there's a little bit of a delay.
And they were just fighting back and forth.
Right, where it was like they were kind of like delayed and whatever. They were in the same room having that argument. The Lamar Jackson contract. This is so incredibly simple to me. This is so simple. Lamar wants the Deshaun contract. I understand.
I get it.
I get it.
And I think that's every owner in the NFL's frustration with the Deshaun contract is now every good quarterback
They
wants
knew that it was
going
to put him in that kind of position.
Yes.
Well, guess what? He's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. They're going to franchise tag him 3 times. If he says, well, I won't play, then they'll toll his contract. They will not let Lamar Jackson dictate the terms. And the CBA is written that way specifically so that the players can't write their own. It was like the A.J. Brown, I'm going to hold out. It's like, okay, if you hold out, then you won't be a free agent at the end of the year, A.J. Does that make a lot of sense? And so everybody now has all these cockamamie theories about Lamar. Here's the deal. The longer Lamar waits, the better for Lamar because everybody else signs new contracts. I don't think it would be crazy for Lamar to play on the $23 million this year and then wait for Burrow and Herbert to sign next year and then sign after that. But the guys that are signing right now are getting like $70 million in cash in year 1, and that's a lot of money. And the markets and everything are down right now. So it would be money to put in and invest and whatever. That's his own business. But if he thinks he'll probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of 160, 170 guaranteed.
And that's still
Tyler, Russell, that's what they got. But if he thinks he's getting $235 million guaranteed, it's not going to happen now. But that's just common sense. And yet everybody's just like, well, he should hold out, or the Ravens said, or whatever Stephen A. and Michael Irvin were yelling about. Let me just state for the record, though, as I make fun of the Stephen A. Michael Irvin, I love when Stephen A. and Michael Irvin yell at each other.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I love it. I
think they just keep running
that.
around in circles and they get nowhere, but it's just a commercial break, so that's the only thing that stops them.
But they don't even try to run around the circles. They just
do.
They just yell. And they just yell at each other. And Michael Irvin is one of the greatest television yellers of all time.
And I think, was Michael Irvin's point that Lamar isn't going to not play? It's
So
that
Stephen
even if he
A's-
doesn't get his contract, he's still going to play.
So I saw on the top of the screen yesterday morning, I didn't actually see this argument like in full. I saw at the top of the screen, it said why Stephen A. thinks Lamar Jackson should hold out if the Ravens don't give him a contract. Lamar can't hold out. If he holds out, they're going to toll his contract. They can't do it. He has to play. Like, this is the NFL. This is why they do what they do. The NFL makes collective bargaining rules simply to avoid players being able to do this. That's why. Now, sometimes, they don't want to rock the boat too much or get taken to court or whatever, but the Ravens are totally in their right. So, I don't know. What do we have in the text line?
One texter texts in and about who is going to be that surprise team in the NFL this year. This texter says, wouldn't you consider the Titans one of those teams that came from nowhere the year they went to the AFC Championship? At least I'm sure no one expected them to be there.
I mean, yes and no. The Titans were 9-7 that season. Like, when I talk about the team that comes from nowhere, I talk about the 2000 or the 99 Titans that were, 8-8 the year before, and all of a sudden ended up in the Super Bowl at 13-3. Like, that's what I'm talking about. A very forgettable team that has a great season start to finish, comes out the gates red hot, and then makes it to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm really like. The Falcons, when they did it with Matt Ryan as league MVP and Kyle Shanahan as offensive coordinator. The Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a team that had won 9 games the year before, winning 9 games again and winning 2 playoff games and getting hot. I'm talking about the coming from nowhere. No one's talking about them. No one's thinking about them. No one's anything. And then they dominate the whole season. The Bengals, they didn't dominate the whole season, but the Bengals were in first place for most of the year. They were first place in that division. They beat Kansas City. They smoked Baltimore twice. Like, they were a good team. Not they got hot at the end. That would be more like Eli Manning's Giants. What's next?
Andrew checks in and says, I wouldn't trade Tannehill for Lamar, much less give him the Watson contract. The league knows he won't last as a quarterback.
So I took a caller on Sirius XM about this yesterday that was like, who really wants Lamar? He doesn't win in the playoffs anyways. And I was like, everybody.
Yeah.
I was like, the Arizona Cardinals don't even like Kyler Murray, and they just gave him, like $140 million guaranteed. And they don't even like him. I mean, it's obvious Arizona doesn't like Kyler. They just know that they don't have another option.
They have to think he's a baby
So-
with that clause, right?
Yeah. And then they made him call plays in a preseason game to show him that it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's how you treat a 12-year-old.
Could you imagine the Indianapolis Colts telling Peyton Manning, hey, you're going to call plays in a preseason game because
so you know
we
how
want
hard it
you
is.
to know, Peyton. We want you to understand what the offensive coordinator has to go through.
I mean, that's like what.
It's so demeaning.
It's how you treat a middle schooler when they say, Mom, dinner's no good. And she says, okay, well, you cook it for yourself tomorrow. You see how hard it is. Like, that is how you treat a teenager.
So the second richest owner now in the NFL is David Tepper with Carolina. He's tried every year to get his hands on a quarterback. He's got like $10 billion.
He'd pay Lamar.
You don't think that David Tepper would give up whatever it takes in order to get Lamar Jackson, considering how
Absolutely.
bad he wants to win and needs a quarterback?
Absolutely. But that
Of
doesn't
course.
mean that the Ravens should pay him that much money, should
No.
pay Lamar that much money.
They don't have
just
to.
because they don't have to.
This is why the NFL, when Aaron Rodgers started all his bullcrap last year, there were teams around the league that told Dan Graziano, and Dan Graziano said this on ESPN, that said, like, we don't want you to give in to Aaron because we don't want to become the NBA. We don't want to become this league where the players are like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. So I'm going to pout on the bench like Ben Simmons. They don't want that. And so Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers has all the money in the world already. Aaron Rodgers has all the leverage, that any star player would be afforded. Aaron stood his ground on Green Bay, and Green Bay said no.
And that's Aaron Rodgers.
And Aaron had to take it. And this year, people forget about this, but everybody, because Aaron told them, everybody assumes that Aaron would be allowed to go wherever he wants to go if he had decided at the end of the year that he wanted to trade. And then they asked Brian Gutekunst before the Combine about that, and Brian Gutekunst said, that's not true. That's not true. We didn't promise we'd trade Aaron Rodgers away. And so...
why would they promise that?
Keep that
It'd
in
be
mind.
stupid.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next here on the program, I was very bullish last week on the Vols. They took care of business against Ball State. But I asked one expert, who I think you all would trust more than me, about whether or not my bullish prediction is fair, what they had to say. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
The door's on the board. Strike three, sounds win.
We live the game.
Going up against that defense, he can make some plays and take that next step.
We are.
We got pass rushers.
Checkered flag in the air.
Awesome game 7.
What a stop made by Houston Sarah.
The game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
A new fair is hatching in Nashville. Come on out and experience 10 days of dinner shows, barnyard animals, culture arts, sporting events, and 4 nights of Nashfest with themed music. We have something for everyone at the Fairgrounds Nashville from September 9th through the 18th. Buy tickets early online and save at nashfair.fun, a regional fair with an urban flair. The Nashville Fair. It's a hatchin' good time.
I bought jewelry in New York, I bought jewelry in LA, I bought jewelry in South Beach, I bought jewelry internationally.
Business owner Adam Rothberg knows jewelry. And of all the stores he shopped over the years, his #1 place to go, it's right here, Genesis Diamonds.
There's not a real big reason to go visit a lot of other jewelry stores. Everything that you hope to find everywhere else, you may get bits and pieces of it from others, but you come here and it's a one-stop shop. It's everything that you need to have.
From the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds to the top designer brands in the world to a stunning selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
You really don't need to go anywhere else. Quality of the pieces, obviously a large selection, a selection that fits into a lot of people's budget, and then obviously good counsel and good advocacy for the people that work here that actually know the pieces and know the jewelry business.
And who aren't paid on commission.
They're not pushy. No hard sell.
All this plus the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry, plus nationwide price protection and free service for life on any purchase.
Service you get from Genesis is second to none.
Come discover the store that's got it all. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and the start of the NFL season is finally here, and the best place to practice your touchdown dance is on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is kicking off Week 1 with a no-sweat bet for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a new customer or already have an account, you'll get free bets back if you don't win. Just log in and see for yourself. I really like the Titans and their Week 1 matchup against the Giants, -5.5. Give me the Titans all day long on that, but you take it any way you want to take it. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, just sign up with promo code ROB to get started. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Either way, you can celebrate the return of football season with a no-sweat bet during Week 1. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, or build out a same-game parlay as well for a chance to win a bigger payout with a small bet. Whatever you do, make sure you do it on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. A max refund of $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stone and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. The Tennessee Volunteers have cracked the top 25 at number 24. Congratulations to Josh Heupel and crew. So last week, I predicted the Vols to go 10-2 on the program. And I was surprised because I didn't really read the text line that much on Friday. I just kind of like let it fly. And then, if I felt like checking the text line, I'd check the text line. But doing a one-man show and like monitoring the text line, I just wasn't, whatever. So I don't know how many people on Thursday when I said 10-2 were like, how dare you say 10-2 or whatever it is that these people say.
Pretty jazzed Vol fans in the text line.
That were excited about the 10-2?
Thursday, yeah.
So I had Jordan Rogers on from the SEC Network on Mad Dog Radio yesterday, and I asked him. He called the game on Thursday night. I said, Jordan, are they a 10-win team? Could this be the year that Tennessee gets to 10 wins?
No, I don't think so. The offense, yeah, you could make an argument at that. But, Jared, the defense last year was one of the worst in the entire country, right? So, I mean, you're not going to go from the 100th and some odd ranked defense to the 30th ranked, right? And that's really what you need to do with your offense being what it is in order to beat everybody else, a Florida, an LSU, and only lose to Alabama and Georgia. Well, you're going to have a pretty damn good defense. And right now that their defense is better on paper, they have more depth, but really the elite talent, I'm still waiting to see it develop. And even if they make a big jump, so let's say they make a big jump, their pass defense, instead of 122nd in the country like it was last year, it's 60th, 70th. Well, that still means you're probably losing another game in there somewhere. So I think this is a 9-win football team. I think it's a great football team. I don't see the pieces on defense that I need to be elite, which, again, their offense gives them a fighter's, a puncher's chance every single Saturday. But, man, that defense has got to take a monstrous step, and they're going to have a big test against Pitt. I think it's going to be a great barometer to where they're at and really the potential that they have for the season.
First of all, I'm disappointed in myself because I'm like, could they be a 10-win team? No. And then he said, I think they could be a 9-win team. Well, I mean, what? A
9-win team and a 10-win team are two very different things.
Are they that different?
I think so.
If you think someone can be a 9-win team, you don't think they can be a 10-win team?
I'll tell you this. Is an 11-win team and a 12-win team the same in the NFL?
Kinda.
No. There's a difference.
The Titans won 12 games last year. Buffalo and Kansas City won 11.
Well, in terms of the top 25, let's say, postseason top 25. If you're a 10-win team,
let me say this.
You're
for
top
the,
25.
For the 12-team playoff, I think there's going to be a huge difference between a 10-win team and a 9-win team.
Yes. But I'm saying let's just look at the top 25. If you're a 10-win team, you're in the top 25. If you're a 9-win team, I don't know.
Oh, every 9-win team makes the top 25.
Not every 9-win
like
team
every
makes
real
the top
conference,
25.
Every real conference 9-win team makes the top 25.
Depends on who you beat.
In a real conference? That means they don't look at it like that.
If Tennessee's a 9-win team, maybe they're in the between 18 to 25.
If Tennessee wins 9 games, and I'm talking about 9 real games. I'm not talking about a bowl game. Because
like regular season 9 wins.
Yeah, 9 wins. If they win 9 games, they're probably either the 13th to 19th best team in the country, according to the AP Top 25.
I wouldn't go that far.
9 wins.
9 wins. I don't think so.
Let me pull because Kentucky's been winning those, right?
They would probably be in the bottom third of the top 25.
Because Kentucky plays a similar schedule to Tennessee every year, with the exception of Alabama, which is a big exception. But let's say 2018 Kentucky football, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the year they won 10 games, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So let's
Either
see
18 or 19.
what Kentucky football finished in the AP Top 25. They won 9 regular season games.
Okay.
They finished 12th.
Okay.
In the AP Top 25. So if you win 9 games in the SEC, and you see, that's why I'm saying the difference between a 9-win team and a 10-win SEC team and a 12-team playoff is going to be a huge
Totally
deal.
different, yeah.
Like that I understand. But for Jordan to say, well, they can't be a 10-win team, but they can be a 9-win team, okay, here's my thing. I believe Tennessee cannot beat Alabama or Georgia.
Okay, but also, I'm sorry to interrupt. Arkansas went 9-4 last year, and they were 21st.
Did they go 9-4 in the real games, or was that 9th win the bowl win?
I don't remember who.
They played Penn State in Tampa, and I believe in the Outback.
Maybe they went 8-4 in the regular season, won that 9th game in a bowl game.
Well, there's a big difference between 10 and 8 in a regular season.
Well, it was 9 and 8, but yeah.
No, but I'm talking about how like a 10-win team or a 12-win or a 9-win team, those teams are like in the top.
8-4 in the regular season, 9-4 in the whole season.
And I would venture. So you said they were 24th in the final AP?
21st.
21st. I mean, again, if you win 9 games in the SEC, it's
impressive.
You're not going to be outside the top 25. And you're really, I think, going to be, where Kentucky was at 13 or 12 or whatever it was. I think that's really where a 9-win Tennessee team, I think, is probably 12th or something like that in the country. But they're not going to beat Alabama. They're not going to beat Georgia, right?
Correct.
Okay, they're absolutely going to beat Akron. They're absolutely going to beat UT Martin. They're absolutely going to beat Missouri, South Carolina, and Vandy.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
So that's 5 wins already.
So then it's Pittsburgh, Florida, LSU, and Kentucky that are the 4 games that matter. And he doesn't think their defense is going to be good enough to win all of those games? They have to win all of them because 10-2 would mean losing to Florida and Georgia.
Alabama and Georgia.
Alabama, Georgia, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say.
I don't know. I mean, I
could say, after Anthony Richardson played the way he played for Florida. And I think Florida just jumped into the poll at 12. So they were unranked, and now they're 12.
Yeah.
Which means that those guys saw the same thing I saw Saturday.
But also,
and they were like, Anthony Richardson, we are not worthy of your play.
Also, week 1, things changed so dramatically.
Well, that's because nobody knows anything about anything. And then everyone goes to these media days and acts like they know everything about everything. And they don't know anything about anything. And then they watch a game, and they're like...
Well, you also want to say after week 1 that you know everything about everything, that Florida is going to be the best and Georgia is going to be the best, and that LSU is the absolute worst.
Let me say this.
Change.
I do believe that
I do believe
Georgia
might be
the absolute best after week 1. And I think Florida's good. Now, I got to tell you, on the Tennessee schedule, again, just being real with it, I didn't think Pittsburgh played very well.
I didn't think so either.
Okay.
They did not protect the quarterback at all.
Akron, no.
Well, no, they're not going to beat Akron. Or they're going to beat Akron.
We'll get to Florida in a second. At LSU?
Doesn't look great.
I mean, if LSU can't catch punts, that's going to be a tough season.
I'm hoping LSU figures at least a few things out.
Now, the Kentucky, we had that guy that texted in yesterday that got mad about Kentucky, and they were like, well, you guys aren't talking enough about Kentucky. And, I didn't watch Kentucky play Miami,
Kentucky,
Ohio.
Give me a reason to talk about you after week 1.
In fairness,
playing Miami, Ohio.
Tennessee played Ball State.
Well, we're also in the state of Tennessee.
But
Also, how much talking about Tennessee did we do?
That was the hardest, not a lot. That was the hardest game for me to pick in the SEC. Tennessee, Kentucky.
That's a tough one.
Though South Carolina, Missouri was certainly up there.
But Kentucky, Florida this weekend, I think, too, will be a tough one to pick.
I mean, I'll say this. The only reason that I could see myself backing off of the 10-2 on Tennessee is because of Anthony Richardson in Florida.
Yeah.
Because he's that good.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is that dude. But everything else.
Did you have Tennessee beating Kentucky?
I did.
I did too.
Because the game's in Knoxville.
Uh-huh.
And
Tennessee just always finds a way to beat Kentucky.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, right? Kentucky's been so much better than them over those years. And then, boy, did they kill them in 2020, that bad year. Jared Garantano and Jeremy Pruitt. And, oh, my God, was that bad. I got to be honest with you. It's just me. I still think 10-2. I don't have a problem with Jordan not thinking that they're going to be 10-2. My issue is it was so quickly dismissed. That it is so impossible for them to be 10-2 because of their defense. Now, again, they played Ball State. And, Jordan knows way more about this stuff than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I saw at the Ball State game was, yeah, they can win these games. They can beat LSU after what I saw in the Ball State game. They can absolutely beat LSU. I mean, right now, if Tennessee goes into Baton Rouge and puts up 35 points, which is what they average, and I'm not saying they will or they won't, I don't know.
But if they do put up 35 points, I think they win
There's
the game.
no chance LSU wins. And right now, the argument can be made that they can put up 24 on everybody, and that includes Georgia. And so LSU is not Georgia defensively. I mean, I could see it. I could see Tennessee. I think it is wrong.
But I think it comes
on Jordan Rogers' part to quickly dismiss 10-2.
But to Jordan's point, the difference is going to be the defense. I mean, I went on College Station Radio on Friday. They asked buy or sell Tennessee's second-best team in the East. And I said sell because I don't think that the defense is going to be good enough to be the second-best team in the East.
What did the defense not do well enough on Friday night or Thursday night?
Against Ball State.
I know, but that's all we have to go off of.
I know, but I don't know how much real estate I can really put into the Ball State game and say, oh, yeah, Tennessee held Ball State to 7 points, 10 points, whatever it was. So Tennessee, defense, good. That's not fair. I think this weekend is going to be a really good test to see has the defense actually improved. at all. I think against Pitt, you're going to see that.
Okay, let's say the defense does improve. Thinking they win 10 games?
Maybe.
So then Jordan shouldn't have shut it down so quickly.
Well, I didn't say it.
I know.
I'm not Jordan Rodgers.
That's my point, is he shouldn't have said, like, my point is that.
Well, then maybe what Jordan saw against Ball State was not enough for him to think that the defense has improved.
That's the question.
I can't look at what Tennessee does against Ball State or what Kentucky does against Miami, Ohio, and say, oh, yeah, this is good, this is bad.
The only thing that I right now would change, if I could, the only thing that I would say maybe sways me off the 10-2 is what Anthony Richardson did this week for Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, 615-737-1025. Week 1 is in the books. We'll get your thoughts on the Jordan take on Tennessee, 10 wins. And they're in the top 25. Good for them. Do you want to change anything that you did last week? Has week 1 changed? Anything that you want to change off of last week? Everybody, you are allowed to do this. If you thought something about college football and after one game you want to completely change it, you are allowed to do that. 615-737-1025. The one for me is obvious. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman & Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage. Whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, folks, Joe Rexford here. Listen, to do the job I do, I got to stay on the move, and sometimes that can catch up to me. Even when it does, I always enjoy natural and enjoyable ways to de-stress my mind and body, and that's why I use the high-quality and wide selection of THC and CBD products from OrderGreen.com. OrderGreen.com is the nation's #1 online shop for all things cannabis. And man, I'm in Tennessee, but it makes me feel like I'm in Colorado, and they can be delivered right to your doorstep. Save 25% now on every shipment of gummies with a subscription. That's OrderGreen.com. Subscribe to save 25% on gummies.
Hey, it's Hutton. Guys, do you need an annual health exam? I recommend going to Low T Center to get your complete health assessment. They will check all of your levels, not just your T level. In most cases, it's completely covered by your health insurance. And if you don't have insurance, it's less than $100 for a full lab panel and an office visit with their medical provider to give you a complete health assessment. Low T Center specializes in men's health, making it quick and easy, even verifying your insurance. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Is it too early to start the Anthony Richardson Heisman discussion?
Yes, it is too early. I will say, if you were just ranking the 3 or 2 most talented, physically gifted quarterbacks in the entire country, he's in that conversation every time. I will say, when I dove into the film and I watched it back this morning, they did a really good job offensively of controlling his eyes. And without getting too far in the weeds, they didn't make him go from one side of the field in his read progression to the other side of the field. When he started one direction, the other routes, the second and third reads, came to him. So as a quarterback that has, I wouldn't say struggled as a passer, because he really didn't get many opportunities last year. When he came in, he was an athlete, right? There was power runs, there was options, there was a play action and huck it downfield. So now he's playing quarterback. And I think the offense managed him really, really well. And if you can manage his eyes and make him efficient as a passer, because he is probably the best athlete on the field every single Saturday, they're going to be damn good. It's going to be really scary, this Florida offense.
There you go. That was Jordan Rogers yesterday with me on Mad Dog Radio. So I say it's too early for the Anthony Richardson Heisman campaign, and he thought that they coached him well, but it could be scary with the Florida offense. If there's anything I could change from last week, when we made our official SEC predictions, and these are the ones you got to stand by, I had Florida at 4th in the SEC East at 7-5. I no longer feel that way. I no longer feel they would be 4th in the SEC East, and 7-5's out of the equation. I had them losing to Utah. Obviously, they won that game. Had them losing to Kentucky this week at home. I didn't watch Kentucky last week, but I think they're going to win that game. At Tennessee in week 3, I had them losing that game.
I did too.
I don't know. I will tell you, Anthony Richardson is a bad boy. I also had them losing at Texas A&M later in the season. I'm just saying.
So I had them losing to Utah, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and A&M.
Okay, so did I.
I would say I would probably flip Kentucky. But also, how fair is that for me to say of Kentucky when I watched Florida and I didn't watch Kentucky?
What's your heart tell you?
My heart tells me Florida.
Okay, so think about it like this.
I don't feel good about it, though.
I'm going to flip Utah and Kentucky. Obviously, they won the Utah game.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip Utah and Kentucky, which leaves Tennessee and A&M because they're not going to beat Georgia. Tennessee and A&M. Let's say they split them. So now the Georgia Bulldogs, for me, went from 7-5 to 10-2.
Florida Gators.
The Florida Gators. Is that the Florida Bulldogs?
You said the Georgia Bulldogs.
The Florida Gators are now a 10-win team because of one game against Utah for Anthony Richardson, and I'm ready to say do it. Again, I'm still held. I'm still bound by the official prediction.
No, you would have them going 9-3.
Because I'm giving them Utah. I had them winning 7 games. They win Utah, they win Kentucky, and they win one of those other 2.
Okay, so sorry, 10-2.
10-2. So I'm still bound by the 7-5 that I predicted at the beginning of the season. This is not a flip-flop. This is just, now that I've seen it, I think that they're going to win 10 games this year because he's that good. And he's that kind of player at that position in college football is an automatic it pushes you up past a bunch of okay teams. It won't let you beat a good team, like a great team, but it'll put you past a Kentucky.
Yeah.
He's that good.
Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be a difficult game for Tennessee to win.
Now, here's the second one that I'm thinking about. Had LSU at 6-6.
Uh-huh.
I did have them beating Florida State. They're going to beat Southern this weekend.
Uh-huh.
Mississippi State.
That could be a game.
Is LSU going to be able to score enough points? Because I know Will Rogers and Mississippi State, they're going to throw the football. They'll beat New Mexico.
But they beat Mississippi State last year, and that was a god-awful LSU team.
Didn't they beat a really good team last year, too?
Texas A&M.
Yeah,
What?
I'm just saying, if they
They
can't block
weren't
for
good
extra
last
points
year.
at Auburn, is that going to be tough?
That could be a game.
Okay, Tennessee at home?
A game. I had them losing at Florida, and I stand by that.
I did, too. Ole Miss?
I had LSU beating Ole Miss.
Now,
I
Ole Miss
probably
has
have
not,
that as a loss.
Ole Miss has not decided on a quarterback.
Who started their game, Jackson Dart?
I don't know, but then they're putting the other guy.
I didn't watch Ole Miss.
The other guy is starting this week against Central Arkansas.
They played Troy. Like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah,
game.
so they're doing what Michigan's
They're flip flopping.
doing.
And I also don't know if that's what LSU's going to do. Also,
Alabama, Arkansas, Texas A&M at the end of the season.
I had them losing all 3 of those games. So I had LSU losing to Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, and A&M. Obviously, throw Florida State in there. I would probably add Ole Miss as another loss.
So now you're at 6-6.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be a 5-7 season in year 1 of Brian Kelly.
Not great.
Not great.
I'm also not counting out that they can turn things around.
Anything else you want to change after what you saw in week 1? Like any feelings about any teams that you felt like, man, that team's going to be, and then they're not. And that's really all I got is, and again, that's because they played real teams. LSU played a real team, and Florida played a real team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel very strongly like Georgia I had going undefeated, but I can still feel strongly about that because they played a real team. The other teams didn't play real teams.
I had Florida going 7-5. I'd probably bump that up to at least
10-2.
9. At least 9. I had LSU going 8-4. I probably have them going more so 6-6 now.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
What?
No, like the idea of expecting an 8-4 season and getting a 6-6 season is not something the people that root for that team.
Well,
like.
I've said this from the very beginning with LSU. I said I think the floor is as low as 6. I think the ceiling is as high as 9 or 10.
Let me tell you this. I went into the season with Louisville football thinking, man, we might have a chance this year. Like, we might be okay this year. And after losing 31-7 to Syracuse, I now think that there is no chance and the coach is not going to survive. Like,
well, I think that's fair. I mean, that's a 31-7 loss to Syracuse.
And, like, Satterfield was kind of on the hot seat in the season. And so you enter the season on the hot seat and you lose 31-7 to Syracuse.
Your seat gets hotter.
You're going to get fired.
But also, yeah, I would say that that's the only thing I can take away just because, I mean, in Georgia, I had 11 and 1. I might have them going 12-0.
Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have in the text line?
One texter texts into the text line and says, you all are sleeping on the Vols. They'll beat Georgia.
So I actually thought about discussing this today. Remember a couple weeks ago, D. Mace was like, I am going to pick Tennessee to beat Georgia. And then I walked into the studio and I started making up all these players who I had never heard of, like just made up names. And was telling
made up
Derek
names, yeah.
how crazy.
You've never heard
it
of them
is
because they don't exist.
Like Derek, they've got they've got J-Ron Johnson, and you think that they're gonna? He's like, nah, I don't think. Like, they were made up players, and Derek was like, had no idea they were made up. And but he was like, I think Tennessee's gonna beat Georgia, and I was like, okay, all right, that's a take. You think he still feels that way now after what we saw Saturday?
Probably not.
No, let's not get crazy here. Like, Florida might have. Well, no. I was going to say Florida might have the best player on the field when they play Georgia.
No.
But they'll have the best quarterback on the field when they play Georgia.
But let's give Stetson Bennett his due.
368 passing yards.
He looked pretty good. He looked better than I'd ever seen him.
They didn't have a player rush for over 50 yards. They had one guy rush for 50.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, and some of that was because they were putting more people in the game and everything else. But they did not. This idea.
He looked like more than just a passenger.
I don't see Georgia losing any of these games.
Preseason, I had Kentucky upsetting Georgia just because I thought there'd be something kind of spicy
Peter
that would happen.
King.
Well, something crazy like that always happens. Who would have thought that LSU would have beaten A&M last year? Not me. Weird things happen.
Sure.
So to the texter in the text line that says, you hate Kentucky so much, and I don't understand why. I don't hate Kentucky. They just played Miami of Ohio.
I'm just saying.
Do you hate Kentucky?
To be honest with you, no.
Yeah.
Like,
nothing against Kentucky.
I went to Louisville, and so, like, there it's like, oh, you should hate them. No. I mean, I think they do some dumb stuff. When they do, I call them out on it. I do enjoy when Calipari loses. I don't know if that's a Kentucky basketball thing, a Kentucky basketball fan thing, or a Calipari thing.
I think that's a Calipari thing.
I mean, it's like, I don't hate LSU, but I can't stand Brian Kelly.
I mean, like, I hate Florida, and I just predicted they win 9 games.
I'll say this, though. Like, I do kind of like Calipari at the same time that I want Calipari to lose. So I don't know what that, where that comes from. I couldn't tell you. But, no, I don't really hate Kentucky football. I don't have any problems with Kentucky football.
I don't care.
Trevor will join us next. His takeaways from week 1. And we got to talk about this Clemson game, by the way.
Yuck.
We'll get into all of the week one discussion with Trevor. We'll do that next right here. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
We're Saia LTL Freight. For nearly a century, our team has been committed to driving business forward. From Lady Liberty to the Golden Gate, Superstore to Corner Store. We go that extra mile, expanding our team to better serve you. So trust that when you partner with Saia, we take every delivery personally. Visit Saia.com for all your shipping needs. That's SAIA.com.
In a world where human interaction seems to be reduced to chats and clicks and emails, where transactions are measured only by speed, where corporate policies overrule common sense, sometimes you just want to go old school. Welcome to Genesis Diamonds, a refreshing experience where personal relationships and authentic interaction are the norm, not the exception. At Genesis, you're here celebrating something awesome in your life, and we want to know all about it. We want to hear your story, listen to your requests, and be a meaningful part of whatever occasion this is. A proposal, an anniversary, a birthday, graduation, push gift, sweet 16. If it's important to you, it's important to us. So we don't care how long it takes. We're not paid on commission, and we're not beholden to some corporate rule book. We just want to help you get what you want to make it into a special memory. So take a break from modern shopping and go old school with us at Genesis. Let's start a real relationship that you can count on for life. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Golfers, tee it up this fall at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for big savings. Save up to $150 off on Ping G425 Woods. Upgrade your gear with discounted Wilson stand and cart golf bags. And stock up on TaylorMade Distance Plus golf balls. Now 2 dozen for $35. Don't miss these items and more happening now at Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Who do you call when you need a new floor? R&S Wood Flooring, or replenish the old one that you've got. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. Bring beauty to every room in your home. R&S Wood Flooring.
R&S Flooring is Nashville's leading flooring company for over 30 years. Say no to inflation and save big this summer at R&S Flooring. Save on all hardwoods, tile, carpet, and LVT flooring. Take advantage of our 12 months same as cash financing and don't make a payment until 2023. Simply go online at rnsflooring.com and schedule your free estimate today. No waiting, no hassles. It's that easy. Call 615-771-0084 today and schedule your free in-home estimate. Or visit us online at rnsflooring.com and start visualizing your new floors today.
R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring.
Coming up on Wednesday's edition of Chase Willie and D-Mace, we'll talk to NFL insider Adam Kaplan at 11, plus Jonathan Hutton of Outkick 360 joins the show at noon. We'll also continue to look at our 10 Titans questions. It all starts at 10 on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Matthias Ekholm. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Week one is in the books. College football season. And so I have there's a lot of things I felt before the start of the season, like Utah going to the college football playoff, and I have totally changed my mind on that after seeing the season. I love Anthony Richardson. It was a great week one. Trevor Maddox joins us as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters, and Twin Peaks Restaurant in Cool Springs, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Trev, let's start on week one. I got a bunch of takes, so I'm just going to fire them at you, and you tell me what you think about my week one takes. You ready?
Yep.
Number one, I love Anthony Richardson. I think he's awesome. Like, I'm not going to go as far as Vince Young, because I think Vince Young or Lamar Jackson, like, that's the pinnacle of game-changing, and Michael Vick, like the game-changing elite quarterbacks in college football in my lifetime. But I'm saying that he's in a special level. What do you think of Anthony Richardson and what it means for Florida?
He can be at a special level. I think Florida fans should be excited about Anthony Richardson's improvement over last year. But I would say pump the brakes a little bit on those kind of expectations. Last year he made phenomenal plays, and he also made catastrophic plays. And part of the reason is turnovers, didn't protect the ball, all kinds of things that happened. In this game, he protected the ball exceptionally well. This game against Utah last week, he made the plays that were there, but he missed some opportunities, some big opportunities. And a lot of the plays that he made, especially on the ground, were because of mistakes by Utah more than Anthony Richardson going out and making a play against a defender who was poised to stop him. For example, on the game-winning touchdown that, at the end of the game, of course, they got the interception at the very end to seal it.
Oh, that was so bad on Utah's part, by the way, Trev. That interception
Yeah.
at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Inexcusable.
It was just a bad mistake by a very good quarterback. But Utah was one play away from victory 3 different times, and Florida made the play every single time. So credit Florida for that, but but Utah's still highly ranked, so they still get respect from the people that are voting in the AP poll. But so for Richardson on that game-winning touchdown, he rolled out to the right and then scored a touchdown wide right. Utah completely lost contain. And as I went back and in other words, nobody was blocked, nobody was beat. The guy that had contain left, and he went inside. And in my notes, in watching that game, Utah-Florida, the most common thing that I wrote was, again, Utah lost contain. Once again, Utah lost contain. And so there were a bunch of run plays where Utah just didn't have a guy in the right spot. It was a busted assignment. Or on run play. And in pass plays, same way. Guys lost contain. Richardson was able to run outside very easily and then extend plays where he got some pretty good passes. And so Richardson made the plays that were in front of him. I'm not saying he didn't have a great game. He did. He had fantastic improvement in his generalship and his consistency over last year. But a lot of his biggest plays were Utah problems, not Richardson greatness.
Okay, take number 2. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame can coach. And I felt like Notre Dame, when they play those big games, they get walloped. And they went in there and they played tough football on the road at Ohio State, and an Ohio State team that we were told was supposed to be so incredibly great. Oh, my God, they might not lose a single drive the entire season. They're so good. I watched Marcus Freeman. I thought he was confident on the sidelines. I thought he was cool on the sidelines. And I thought his team played that way, even though they clearly don't have as much talent as Ohio State. Your thoughts?
All those things are true. Totally agree, Jared. And you're right that Ohio State has more talent top to bottom. But if we just look at what you're talking about, the Notre Dame defense against the Ohio State offense, you could say that great receiver for the Buckeyes, Jack Smith-Njigba, got hurt early. He wasn't a factor. There were some young receivers that had to step in for 2 guys that went in the first round of the NFL draft as receivers from Ohio State's offense last year. Okay, I get that. But in talking to people inside the program at Ohio State, they believe that they're not going to miss those 2 guys. They got drafted in the first round last year from their wide receiver room because of the talent coming up. So, yeah, they had some issues with their top receiver injury and all that, but that wasn't what the problem was for Ohio State. The problem was that Notre Dame was always in the right spot to contest everything that Ohio State tried to do, and that is coaching. And then there's technique and all the things that they need to do, the belief and all the rest. But Notre Dame forced Ohio State to go away from what they wanted to do most, which was throw the ball and have a Heisman statement for C.J. Stroud in addition to winning the game, because that wasn't working in the first half. The Buckeyes scored 7 points in the first half. That's it. And the only reason they won this game is because in the second half they said, okay, CJ, we love you, but we're going to take the ball away from you and put it in the hands of our running back and offensive line, and they were able to establish the run in a way that the talent of the Buckeyes finally overwhelmed the Notre Dame defense. Didn't overwhelm them. They only scored 2 touchdowns in the second half, but it was the difference in victory, and it is because of the coaching of Marcus Freeman and utilizing his talent on defense to absolute maximum advantage. I don't think you're going to see any defense, even in the SEC, even Georgia, even Alabama, do to Ohio State what Notre Dame did.
Number 3, Brian Kelly could not have gotten off to a worse start at LSU, given the expectations and the way in which LSU lost.
Okay, tell me, there's a couple directions to go there. So tell me the ways that they lost that stood out to you.
They lost the game, 2 muff punts, 2 missed field goals, 1 on a PAT that got blocked, 1 on a field goal that got blocked. I really didn't even think Florida State played a good game. I don't even really think Florida State's that good. On top of it, Boutte, who was supposed to go out there and go bananas, he was terrible out there for LSU. Their passing game, I felt like I was watching every LSU team that was not quarterbacked by Joe Burrow since the day Matt Flynn left to go to the NFL. And the expectations, the losing at home against Cincinnati and not making the playoffs like Notre Dame did last year is not acceptable at LSU. And losing a game on national TV that everybody saw and the schedule that they have that might lead them to 6-6 or 5-7, that's not going to be okay. And on top of it, the one coordinator that Brian Kelly brought with him from Notre Dame was the special teams coordinator, and the special teams were abysmal on Sunday night.
They were, everything you're saying is right. And this was a horrible start for Kelly because a lot of the things that went wrong were coaching things that the coaches should have done a better job of getting the players ready to go. So let's just tick them off one by one here, right? So you mentioned the muff punts, right? You feel the punt with your feet. In other words, you've got to get your feet squared up and you've got to be in position so that ball comes down to your body in the right spot. You can't be leaning forward to make the catch with your hands. You can't be going off to the side to make the catch with your hands. And that's what their returner was doing, and it cost them. Their PAT field goal protection unit was horrible with a hat tip to the field goal kicker, who actually on that last one, it kicked it low as well. So that whole thing was a disaster. Then you talk about the wide receivers. This, to me, was the biggest I don't want to say the word failing, the biggest probably disappointment of the coaches in their performance as coaches in this game as they look at the tape. One of the best wide receiver groups in all of college football at LSU, and they were absolutely non-factors for most of this game. Now, Florida State is better than people give them credit for. I think they can be one of the breakout teams in all of college football this year. So they have some athletes back there to cover, but not enough to be able to cover what LSU can put out at wide receiver. So why didn't they get the ball more? And by the way, you look at Boutte, I thought it was Boutte also. It's like Booty, I guess, for the game. He looked like he was absolutely frustrated beyond belief. And I think it's because I'm just guessing. I'm guessing it's because he knew that he didn't have a quarterback that could get him the ball. And he knew he could do stuff if he got the ball. And, there were times when he got thrown out of bounds. He was wide open. He could have turned up the field, but quarterback threw him out of bounds. Other times where the quarterback had him wide open, and he could have got the ball turned up and run for a long ways. Instead, the quarterback waited so long that the defense collapsed on him, and he ends up getting smashed when he catches the ball. That's frustrating for a great receiver. And Jaden Daniels, the transfer quarterback from Arizona State, is an outstanding runner, but he took a step back last year in Tempe as a passer. And he took another step back against Florida State because when it was time to throw the ball, he didn't know what he was looking at. And when he did, he often missed. He ran the ball quite well, but just like in the Utah game, when he ran the ball, it was more Florida State losing contain than it was Daniels actually going out and making a play. And I would say this, that one of the biggest transfer portal signings in all of college football was Florida State signing a guy named Jared Verse, pass rusher out of Albany. Everybody wanted this guy. He came to Florida State, and he did what he did at Albany. He freelanced. He came inside when he should have stayed outside. He stayed outside when he should have come inside. Sometimes he made a play, and everybody went, ooh, look at him make that play. But other times, he just left his gap because he was freelancing, and Daniels, the quarterback for LSU, just took off and ran and had a big play. Ooh, he's great, right? Well, no, let's have the new guy stay in his gap, and then see how Daniels does. So I kind of think they might go with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback sooner rather than later to see if he can get the LSU receivers more involved than they were able to get in that opener against Florida State.
One last take, Trevor, that I had from the weekend. Is Georgia now officially the Alabama of the East?
Georgia has joined Alabama. There are now 2 Alabamas. Or if you ask people in Athens, there are now 2 Georgias. Georgia faced a legitimately good Oregon team. Oregon does have one of the best combinations of offensive line and defensive front sevens in all of college football. And Georgia just obliterated them. And then Stetson Bennett at quarterback picked up where he left off, not just managing the game, but making individual plays that a lot of people don't think he can make. He did last year, but now he did again against Oregon. And then on offense, they started to get some young receivers and Darnell Washington, a tight end, involved. I think this Georgia team is underrated, and I think they might end up as a total unit better than they were last year. And it's because of the Alabama nature of recruit well, coach them up, and reload. And so far, so good for Georgia fans. I would put them number 1 in the nation right now, and Alabama number 2.
Trevor Maddox is with us, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics and by Twin Peaks. Coming up next, been kind of bummed about the Titans. I want to hear what Trevor has to say. I think Trevor might make Titan fans feel a little bit better than maybe I made him feel earlier today. We'll do that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
2, 3, 4, look.
High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz, presented by National Playmakers Academy.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bovis today. Humid but a little below average. High temperatures in the middle 80s this afternoon. A chance for a few more isolated showers and storms during the afternoon hours. Mornings stays dry, and we'll continue that trend going into your Wednesday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Psst. Something's hatching at the Nashville Fair. 4 nights, 4 bands, and 4 themes. Come on out to Nashfest 2022, presented by Nashville Soccer Club. Enjoy live music, games, food, and signature drinks. All 4 festivals are free with fair admission. Eat local and drink local, where locals play. Skip the line and buy online at nashfair.fun, a regional fair with an urban flair.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to 0. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
If you have the first overall pick, select Twin Peaks for your fantasy football draft party. Stay cool under pressure with 29-degree draft beers, bites for the whole team, a $50 bonus card for the commish, and $5 bonus card for every drafter. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com/fantasy draft for info.
Need a new tractor, zero-turn mower, utility vehicle? Try it and buy it at Coleman Tractor of Nashville's Kubota Field event, Thursday, September 15th at Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Fun Shoot at one of Coleman Tractor's biggest sales events of the year. Demo, subcompact, compact, utility tractors, and more. Ask about competitive financing offers. Get a coupon for up to $250 and enter to win an Orca cooler. Don't miss Coleman Tractor of Nashville's Kubota Field event, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on September 15th at Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Fun Shoot.
Robbie Stanley.
It really doesn't matter until the pads come on and you have to hit each other, you have to block.
Joe Rexrode.
Reliable, go out and make some plays for you. Solid player.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's Best Sports Talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Trevor Maddich is with us, as always, here on the program, presented by Twin Peaks and by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, you texted me earlier today about the Titans. I am down on the Titans. I am a little bummed out about the start of the season. I should normally be incredibly excited, and yet, for some reason, I'm bummed. And so, one of the reasons I'm bummed, I don't know how they're going to replace Harold Landry, 12 sacks last season. Another reason I'm bummed, I don't know how they're going to replace A.J. Brown. I thought it was going to be with Treylon Burks. It doesn't look like it's going to be with Treylon Burks. What are your thoughts?
You're right to be bummed. You're absolutely right, and those are two solid reasons. In a second, I'll give you the third, which is the thing I've been bummed about for a long time. But when it comes to Harold Landry, that's a huge loss because he's the kind of guy that can just beat the blocker in front of him to pressure the quarterback without the need to bring people out of the secondary or out of the linebacking level to blitz. To not have that is huge. Now, Rashad Weaver is going to rotate in packages, and we'll see how he does. But without him there, it's a serious problem on defense, especially now because you've got a group of cornerbacks who are a work in progress. Caleb Farley is one of the keys to all of the defensive success. He needs to be able to hold up in man coverage as well as in zone in order for the defense to do everything they want to do. And in the preseason, Farley did some good things. He had some teachable moments, I guess you would say, but he now has even more pressure on him because there could be less pressure on the opposing quarterback. That's a big deal, especially when you look at the upcoming schedule beyond the Giants. And then when it comes to receiver, I'm not terribly concerned about Burks right now. I want to see what he does against the matchups that he gets. Because, as you know, Jared, in this league, it's about matchups. So this player is covering that player. How do they do, right? And right now, if you're the Giants defense, you're not focusing your best cover guys on Treylon Burks, right? You're focusing your best cover guys on the tight end, Austin Hooper, on Robert Woods, on Westbrook Akine, on other guys, even Kyle Phillips. These are where you're putting better cover guys. And by the time they get down to Burks, he's probably going to have a pretty favorable matchup. So I actually expect him to have a better season opener than a lot of other people are.
Trev, what do you talk to the fans here for a second about Petit Ferrer against the Giants? I don't know if their pass rushers, Ojulari and Thibodeau, are going to be in there on Sunday or not. But what would you consider a successful day for Nicholas Petit Ferrer, both in run blocking and in pass blocking?
Run blocking, that they're able to average 4 yards a carry, or that he is not the weak link in that. The big reason for that, we've talked about this for a while, Jared, that the things on defense that they need to cover up, the issues on offense, especially with the receivers that need to be covered up, can be covered up to start with by an outstanding running game. And that means that right tackle position has to at least hold up, at least hold its own. So for Petit Ferrer, a good day is to not need help from a tight end or a running back to protect Tannehill so that they can get those guys out of the pass pattern. And from a running standpoint, contribute to 4 yards per carry for Derrick Henry. That's not enough, but it's enough for the opener for him to kind of get his feet wet. The big problem for him is if he keeps getting his name called as the guy who was the weak link. false starts, holding penalties, giving up pressures and sacks, giving up tackles for loss on the run, because if I'm the Giants, I am trying to force them into that. If I'm the Giants, I'm game planning against that guy on the offensive line. Because in the preseason, he struggled a little bit when there were some stunts and some slants and things like that over him. If I'm the Giants, I am twisting and turning and dropping guys out and rushing other guys that he doesn't expect to see if Petit Frere can mentally live up to what we know he can do physically if he knows exactly what to do. So, he just needs to have his name called for the right reasons and not the wrong ones.
Trevor Maddox is with us here on the program. Trevor, what do you make of – I think the fans just think the Titans can replace a Landry and replace an A.J. Brown and that it'll be fine. You know that there are certain positions that can be replaced or certain guys that can be replaced. How replaceable or irreplaceable? For instance, Ryan Tannehill, not a replaceable player for the Titans. If he goes down, they lose, season over. How replaceable or irreplaceable is it going to be for the Titans as far as Landry and Brown are concerned?
Well, Brown is replaceable if the running attack is good, and or if Treylon Burks actually rises up and becomes more of a gamer than he's been in practice, or at least certainly than what we saw, what the fans were able to see. Most fans didn't see practice, but what they were able to see in the preseason and preseason games. So that's easier than Landry, because without Landry there, maybe Rashad Weaver or some of the other younger guys can make up some of the production there. But if they're the lead guy, then who's the backup that's resting them or that's coming in sub packages to give another outstanding pass rusher that'll rush against a lesser pass protector in terms of matchups on the defensive side? So that's a problem. I think it's interesting, though. A lot of people have been looking at moving Danico Autry. Was he 285 from D-line out to outside linebacker on the depth chart to take Landry's spot? And I would counsel Titans fans to be not afraid. He's not going to be playing linebacker. He's still going to be basically a defensive. He might stand up once in a while, but he's not going to cover tight ends and running backs. Basically, they'll go from a 3-down lineman, 4-linebacker defense, a 3-4, to a 4-3. And even with a 3-4, it looks like a 4-3 a lot, because they'll take the defensive end, say, over the left tackle. They'll move him down over the left guard. They'll move the outside linebacker over the tackle, and he'll be kind of a defensive end position anyway. So Autry is not going to have to go out and do Harold Landry stuff in coverage. But what it does do is it changes the nature of the depth and the rotation.
Trevor Maddox is with us. Trevor, is there any way in your heart you could see the Giants with Daniel Jones beating the Titans on Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes,
how?
If they're able to dominate the Titans' right tackle position, that will be a real problem for a lot of reasons. The other side, though, is this. Keep in mind that while the Giants' defense struggles a bit, and they struggled last year, especially in man coverage. I know, you got Wink Martindale as a defensive coordinator, and he loves to blitz and have lots of man coverage. And, I think they'll play a little less man coverage because of that. I think the defense of the Giants is beatable. That's why I think they'll really attack the right tackle spot to create a leverage point for themselves. But I think it's on the other side that you got to worry about, because the Giants have upgraded their offensive line. Running back Saquon Barkley out of Penn State is another year removed from his ACL injury. And when Barkley is right and playing at his best, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL, not just as a runner, but as a receiver, as just an overall playmaker out of the backfield. And this is where, if the Titans offense can't move the chains, control the clock, allow their defense to rest, because remember, with Landry out, you've got a lesser rotation on the edge and guys more susceptible to being worn down, then that Giants rushing attack is what the real threat is on that side of the ball, and it is a threat. I think the Titans win, but it's not a foregone conclusion that it'll be a runaway and it'll be easy.
Trevor Maddox, as always, joining us on the program. Trev, great stuff.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Maddox joining us, presented by Twin Peaks and by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. I thought Trevor was going to cheer me up.
He usually does.
I thought he was going to cheer me up.
Didn't do the trick, did it?
I'm a little bummed out about the Titans. I'm bummed out, and we'll get to why I'm bummed out. We'll get to that coming up next, right here. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3. The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The start of the NFL season is here. The best place to practice your touchdown dances on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is kicking off week 1 with a no-sweat bet for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a new customer or if you already have an account. You'll get free bets back if you don't win. Just log in and see for yourself. Right now, I feel good about Derrick Henry getting the rock week 1 against those Giants. New to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to get started. That's promo code JGM. Either way, celebrate the return of the football season with a no-sweat bet during week 1 and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Max refund is $5 unless otherwise specified and restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Labor Day is here, and that means huge savings in every department at Electronic Express. Get up to 40% off the latest 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. That's not all. Save big on laptops, speakers and headphones, smart home, and more. Up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. The Labor Day sales event is going on now at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Tired of living with chronic joint pain from arthritis or injury? Stop with the steroids and pain meds and don't have surgery until you check out regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics.
These therapies can help the body have long-term relief of your pain.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, medical director at QC Kinetics.
We use your body's own healing properties, highly concentrate them, and then use that to restore and repair the damaged tissues in your joints.
This is a cutting-edge natural solution from local medical professionals.
We have a team of medical assistants, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and physicians that are trained specifically just to do regenerative medicine.
And Dr. Garzone speaks from personal experience. Before joining the QC Kinetics team, he was an actual patient.
I am now pain-free.
You too can get lasting relief from joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
We're Saia LTL Freight. For nearly a century, our team has been committed to driving business forward. From Lady Liberty to the Golden Gate, Superstore to Corner Store. We go that extra mile, expanding our team to better serve you. So trust that when you partner with Saia, we take every delivery personally. Visit Saia.com for all your shipping needs. That's SAIA.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushes.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. I'm bummed. And honestly, the way that this should work is the start of the season. Every single team at the start of the season thinks they're going to the Super Bowl. Thursday night, we're going to get the Bills, who everybody's picking to win the Super Bowl, and the Rams, who won the Super Bowl last year. So you know the Rams fans, although there aren't a lot of them, you know the Rams fans think that their team's going back.
Oh, yeah.
And every other team in between, for the most part, that, you know, had a decent team last year. Baltimore thinks they've got a chance. Cincinnati thinks they have a chance. Dallas thinks they have a chance. Denver, because they traded for Russell Wilson, thinks they have a chance. Green Bay thinks they have a chance. Indianapolis, for some unknown reason, thinks they've got a real good chance.
They always do.
Kansas City thinks they have a chance. The Raiders think they have a chance. The Chargers think they have a chance. The Dolphins probably think they don't have a chance, but they might have a chance. Philadelphia probably thinks they have a chance. San Francisco thinks they have a chance. Tampa Bay thinks they have a chance. All the teams that should be there. But I just cannot get over. Sometimes there's just certain things that I just can't get over. And that is, I look at the Titans, and I think about replaceable players and irreplaceable players. And I don't feel like I really have to get into the nitty-gritty of it to explain to you all what the difference between a replaceable player and an irreplaceable player is. But I thought last year the Titans were a solid team that was well coached, that did what the coach said, but that was carried by its star players like almost every other team in the league is. And they lost a star receiver in A.J. Brown, and they lost a star pass rusher in Harold Landry, who was their leading sacker last year with 12 sacks. And the best on the depth chart right now that I have to replace those two guys is DeMarcus Walker moving to D-end and to Nico Autry moving to outside backer, and Nick Westbrook-Akine. The Titans have a first-place schedule, and unlike last year's first-place schedule, they don't get a team like New Orleans at a retiring quarterback. They get Aaron Rodgers on the road. It just doesn't feel to me like, again, they should beat the Giants on Sunday. I can't
That's the good thing
get
about
to
starting off
one
the
way
season
or another.
with the Giants.
But what do they have to replace A.J. Brown? What do they have to replace Harold Landry? And I think that some people, they just want to ignore it. It's like anxiety about things they don't want to think about, so they just don't think about it. So Titan fans just ignore it. Now, I asked Trevor Maddich about could they lose to the Giants. Trevor's like, yeah, because of the right tackle. We haven't even gotten to that. I mean, we've covered the right tackle situation, but we haven't gotten to Trevor thinking the Titans could actually lose this game because of that right tackle on Sunday. And so then I asked Trevor, hey, should I be bummed about the season or should I be excited about the season? And I was expecting Trevor, and I don't know why I felt this way. Shouldn't make an assumption on how he feels. But I was expecting Trevor to be like, oh, it'll be fine. The Titans, Weaver will go in there, and they'll be okay on defense, and Bud Dupree will step up. And at receiver, they're a running team, and they'll be at – I didn't feel that way from Trevor.
I'll ask you this. How did you feel going into last season?
Oh, I felt like the Titans were gearing up. I mean, I didn't
thought
think
they were a Super Bowl team.
No, because I didn't buy the Julio Jones trade. And they didn't have a tight end, and so I just, look. I come from, if football philosophy was a tree, I come from the Floyd philosophy of they didn't have a right tackle, they didn't have a tight end. Like there's a difference between, like with a lot of people, what happens that I've noticed, like fans with texters, callers, reaction I get, is the Titans will have a deficiency in a position, and they'll take somebody like, let's say, Weaver, and
Westbrook-Akine.
They'll shove Weaver or Westbrook-Akine in there. And I feel like Joe does this a lot when it comes to Westbrook-Akine, and just treat it like it's not that big of a deal. And the way that it used to be with the GM was, and this would be talking during the offseason, wouldn't talk about it once the season started, but during the offseason he would say, like, no, like that guy's a backup. Like he's a backup. Now, if it were during the season and a backup had to go in, he would be like, look, hey, you got to put him in there. Can't do what you can't. But when it came
can't do anything about that.
When it came to building a team, like going into the draft, they didn't have a guard. It was, you better go get a guard. And so going into last season when they didn't have a tight end, I was like, first of all, I don't like putting words into his mouth, but Julio was so injured that he would have never done what the Titans did there. But the whole tight end thing, like he doesn't go into the season without a starting tight end. That's not how he operates. And so that's the philosophy that I had. And so did I think they were a Super Bowl team last year? No. I did think they were going to win the division. I thought the Colts stuff last year, because I thought Carson Wentz was a freaking loser. So I thought the Colts stuff was like a little too much. And so I thought the Titans were going to make the playoffs. And I haven't made my official playoff predictions yet. That'll be Thursday. But I have a hard time seeing how this team makes playoffs.
Well, I think that all comes down to last year. It was a lot easier to get kind of a 360-foot view of the division because this time last year we knew what the Colts were with Carson Wentz. We knew that Carson Wentz was not going to be the answer in Indianapolis.
How do we know that?
Because I think at least I did. I didn't think that Carson Wentz was going to be good.
So
I think that's why you were so excited whenever the Colts did acquire Carson Wentz.
Sure, but I don't think Matt Ryan's going to be all that good either. Like the way that they talk about Matt Ryan, I'm not buying that. But I just don't think the Titans are a better football team than they were last year. Like that's the thing that I believe the AFC has gotten better.
Oh, for sure.
I don't want to do the whole woulda, shoulda, coulda thing because that's how losers talk.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans should have won the Super Bowl last year. Like the way it broke, they would have gotten Kansas City at home. They had already smoked Kansas City. I think it was 30-3 earlier in the year in October. And the Titans were a bad matchup for Kansas City. I think that the Chiefs look at that matchup. I think Andy Reid sat there and said, I don't want to play that team. That's the team I don't want to play. I think he'd rather play Buffalo. I think he'd rather play Cincinnati. And I'm talking about last year. I don't think Andy Reid wanted any part of the Titans in Nashville. And I think the Titans would have beaten the Rams in the Super Bowl. I do. Not to sit there and say that that would have happened, but I mean, the two teams the Titans would have had to play, they freaking smoked.
Yeah, they
did. And so, like, the Titans should have won the Super Bowl last year, and I remember when they lost it, and the pain was in the fact that they were so close. They were so close, and that Ryan Tannehill let them down. Now, I'm more optimistic about Tannehill, knowing his limitations that I feel from him. I'm more optimistic about Tannehill going into this season than I was last year because this year in training camp, he actually looked like he had a pulse. But I just don't think they're a better football team than they were last year. And what they were last year wasn't good enough to get them over the hump consistently. And so what they were last year was a flawed team that had some really key parts that operated really efficiently together and that were managed well. Well, now they're missing the key parts, specifically Brown and Landry, and they haven't replaced the key parts. And so now they're taking spare parts like a Weaver or a Westbrook Akine, and they'll still be managed well, but managing spare parts is different than managing key parts. And that's why I feel like the Titans, that's where my level of bummed comes out. That's where my opening week of the football season optimism should be high. Everybody should be excited. That's where it's quelled. Because last year, A.J. Brown led the NFL last season in the playoffs with 28.4 yards per catch. Who's the big play guy now?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Who's the big play guy? So now I have to hope that the Titans can do what they've been doing the last couple of years, which wasn't good enough to ever get them over the hump, which is run the football, run the football, run the football. The most elite part of the football team, the defensive line, has taken a massive hit. They are replacing Harold Landry with DeMarcus Walker. That's what the way the Titans depth chart reads. Landry out, 12 sacks. If Landry didn't matter, they wouldn't have paid him all that money. Landry out, DeMarcus Walker in. And I'm supposed to be excited? Again, I don't want to be all Debbie Downer over here, but I think that some people have this warped sense of reality that, oh, it'll be fine. We can replace them. And it's like, no. The LA Rams cannot replace Matthew Stafford. The LA Rams cannot replace Aaron Donald. The Green Bay Packers cannot replace Aaron Rodgers. We're going to see if the Green Bay Packers can replace Devontae Adams.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
But they got the quarterback.
The Chiefs replacing Tyreek Hill.
We'll see. We'll see. And
I think that's the same conversation happening around the league. Can the Titans replace A.J. Brown?
And now, Landry.
And also Harold Landry.
Landry, like, to me, it's not just one, it's both. You know, if it were just Brown, they could get by with just Brown. And I wouldn't pick them to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. But if it were just Brown and Derrick Henry's in there and they could throw the ball some to the tight end. Because the reality is what the Titans needed to do was in 2020, their offense was really, really good. And their defense was really, really bad. And then in 2021, their defense was, at the end, very, very good. And their offense was very, very bad. And when the offense just didn't screw up, they went out and walloped the Dolphins. Like, they freaking smoked them. Just whenever they played just solid, clean football, they walloped the Dolphins because the defense was really, really good. Mm-hmm. They walloped the Rams. They smoked the Chiefs. Like, when they played their best football, they were, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL last year. And so now, when they traded Treylon Burks, the hope had to be that Treylon Burks could be A.J. Brown, and then Robert Woods and Austin Hooper would help what the Titans were trying to do. And then when we all realized that Treylon Burks is not going to be ready right away to replace A.J. Brown, now you're going to ask Robert Woods and Austin Hooper to replace A.J. Brown. So at best, you're the same. And that's not good enough. And then on defense, you're absolutely not the same because you lost Harold Landry. And I think that's my big point here is that the goal going into the offseason, Tannehill throws 3 picks against the Bengals. At that point, the goal has to be, how do we go, if I'm the Titans, how do you go from really, really good on defense, really, really average to below average on offense? How do you get that offense back to 2020 where they were really good on offense and really good on defense in 2021? And
maintain that level in 2022 without Harold Landry.
And now it looks like the offense is going to be like the 2021 offense, maybe without AJ, and that the defense is going to be worse than the 2021 defense. And the AFC is better. And so and the schedule is harder, and I am bummed. And I don't know why today I'm bummed about it. I don't know how valid it is to be bummed like that, but I am bummed thinking about that for this upcoming season. Hold that thought. 615-737-1025. We'll get Caroline's thought on the other side and your phones. And again, I think we have to be honest about the A.J. Brown situation and the Landry situation. And those two, I'm sorry, teams do not just replace really good players at premium positions unless there's a draft in order to do it. And so we'll see. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. The Nashville Fair returns to the Nashville Fairgrounds, and this Sunday, 1025 and 1063 The Game will be there from 2 to 4 p.m. Midway rides, agriculture, arts, livestock, competitions, fair food, including a hot chicken on a stick and deep-fried goo-goo clusters and more. Buy tickets early and save at nashfair.fun.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
There are jewelry stores, and then there's Genesis Diamonds, the cutting-edge industry leader, the pioneer. It's no secret that jewelry stores across America watch what Genesis is doing. Genesis was the first to offer a free lifetime warranty, the first to offer a 110% diamond upgrade guarantee, the first to offer aggressive long-term zero-interest financing. And Genesis is always on the cutting edge in design and fashion. The styles other jewelers say are new and exciting were new and exciting for us 4 years ago. Genesis has the fashion-forward brands other stores aren't even allowed to carry. It's no wonder you see jewelers from other cities coming to Genesis to see what we're all about, and even buy their wives' jewelry from us. For selection, quality, service, warranties, and guarantees, Genesis leads. Others follow. So for diamonds, engagement rings, exclusive designer jewelry for any occasion, don't compromise. Come to the jeweler that sets the industry standards year after year. Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage. Whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Craneworks is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Craneworks offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. Rentalworks has a diverse fleet of equipment to assist in any project, big or small. From forklifts to carry deck cranes, they have it all. When it's time for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project, call Craneworks. Visit craneworks.com.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
The one advantage of last season, at least you all have plenty of experience at getting that next man up and ready to go.
Yep, we've done that since, since I've been a part of playing this game. That's not, it's unfortunate. It's disappointing. Feel terrible, obviously, for Harold and the work that he's put in and his value to our football team. But we have to move on and, get everybody ready to go win.
There you go. That was Vrabel yesterday talking about the Harold Landry thing, and I think that's how fans feel, which is, oh, yeah, Harold Landry, that'll be fine, though. Now, Vrabel publicly has to act differently than everybody else.
If Vrabel panics,
yeah, then the team's screwed.
They're screwed.
But, 91 players last year, and they found a way. Yeah, but they didn't lose Harold Landry. And so Landry's out. And when they lost Derrick Henry last year, most of the dirty work for the season had already been taken care of. I got to tell you, I'm bummed. You had a thought?
Well, just to your point about A.J. Brown, replacing A.J. Brown. I think a lot of fans might hear you and say, well, it's not fair to ask Treylon Burks to be what A.J. Brown was. And a couple thoughts on that is, well, that's what's expected of him. And sometimes things just aren't necessarily fair in football.
Life's not fair.
But also the combination of the pass catchers. I do wonder how that is going to be different. How it's not just the A.J. Brown show anymore, which last year it kind of had to be. Because if it wasn't A.J. Brown, then who was it going to be? Nick Westbrook-Akine? Cam Batson? Mason Kinsey? Julio Jones? It was, it was a one-man show last year. So now that it is no longer a one-man show, how much can that be divvied up?
Doesn't matter, though.
Why?
Because if all those guys were to take A.J. Brown's production, all of them, Robert Woods, Austin Hooper, Nick Westbrook-Akine, those guys are all out there and they take A.J. Brown's production, then they're as good as they were on offense last year, which was not good enough.
And adding a tight end, does that make it out? I think that's
the only way you get to A.J. Brown is if you add the tight end. That's the only way you get to A.J. Brown.
How many yards did A.J. have in 2020?
Somewhere around 1,100, I think.
You don't think that between Treylon Burks, if and when he gets on the field, Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akine, they can't equal 1,100 yards?
No. The three of those guys?
Yes.
No. 1,100?
The three of them.
That are going to equal A.J.?
Yes.
Okay, let's just say they do.
Okay.
Now you're equal to what you were last year.
No, 2020.
Oh, to what they were in 2020?
Yes. Okay,
now you still have to account for the 1,500 yards that you lost from Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis.
Yeah, that's tough.
So there's no way. At best, the best case scenario for the Titans, and this is just pure wishing and praying, best case scenario for the Titans is that the offense is the same as they were last year and they just don't turn the ball over. So instead of, and this is before even getting into the fact that Trevor said that they could lose the game because of the right tackle, or the fact that the punter may not be able to catch the snap, as not only was a problem for him in the Tampa Bay game when he dropped it, but also, as Scotty pointed out, when he got handcuffed by the snap against Arizona, before those things that could become cataclysmic without us even going to them, just in terms of replacing A.J. Brown's production, even if they do, then they're the same as they were last year. And now what does that get you in a playoff game where in the playoffs quarterbacks have to push the ball down the field? And that's the hard part is, last year the way things were in the AFC, the Titans defense was good enough and the running game was effective enough in order for us to believe that I firmly believed even before they played Cincinnati that as long as Ryan Tannehill doesn't turn the ball over, the team was going to win. And I think after watching the Cincinnati game, we can all agree that that probably would have been the case. This season, the hope should be that the offense is the same as last year without the turnovers. And the same as last year without the turnovers would have won the Titans a lot of games. The problem is that with the injury to Landry, there's no way the defense is better than they were last year. And that's the hard part, is that the defensive line at the end of the season, when they all played well, they were an elite defense. And they went out there and they beat the Dolphins 30-something to 3, and that's what elite defensive teams do. And all they ask the quarterback to do is don't turn the ball over. Well, now they're not going to be elite because they don't have their leading sacker, and the offense is going to have to get everything good from everybody in order to equal A.J. at his best, and then that makes you as good as last year before the 1,400, 1,500 or whatever that replaces Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis. And that's not even counting the touchdowns, where Jonnu Smith in 2020 accounted for 8 of them. So.
And 2,000 yards from Derrick Henry.
That's why I'm bummed out. I'm not even worried about the running production. And they lost a Pro Bowl left guard who was a great run blocker, and it's a question mark at right tackle, but I'm not even worried about that right now. I'm just talking about replacing the 2 very, very, very important players. And that's where this team is right now. And so, can they do it? Sure, they can do it. But
they're going to have to.
Good about them being able to do it and make the playoffs and win and all that, I can't get there. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. What do we have?
One texter texts in and says, we lost Derek last year and won the AFC. If the schedule is tougher this year, that's the only difference.
No. It wasn't like Derrick Henry got hurt week 1, and Derrick Henry didn't run for those 150 yards against the Bills in a game that the Titans won by 1 foot. Or that Derrick Henry didn't run for all those yards, I believe, in week 3 against Indianapolis. Or that Derrick didn't run for all those yards in week 2 against Seattle. Or that Derrick didn't run for as much as Derrick Henry ran for 973 yards in 8 games. 973. In a 16-game season, that is 2,000 yards.
Yep.
The idea that the Titans, we won all these games without Derrick Henry. No, you beat the Rams and the 49ers without Derrick Henry.
Which is impressive.
But they didn't dominate their schedule. They lost to the Steelers, who weren't very good. They lost to the Patriots, who weren't very good. They lost to the Texans, who weren't very good. They lost to a lot of these teams down the stretch, and they were lucky that the schedule was backloaded. I mean, look, let's just take the Titans' schedule as it is right now. Let's just say that the Titans, Derrick Henry carries the team, which in order to make up for Harold Landry and A.J. Brown,
he's going to have to.
He would be the guy that would be able to do it. Let's say Derrick Henry Derrick Henry takes over the team for the first 10 games. Just saves the team. So the Titans start off 8-2. So the first 10 games for the Titans would be the Giants, Buffalo, Vegas, Indy, Washington, Indy, Houston, Kansas City, Denver, and Green Bay. They're 8-2 after that.
Okay.
Which is impressive because somebody's going to have to carry them to beat the Packers or beat the Chiefs or beat all these good teams. Now all they have to do at 8-2, they have to win 3 games between Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Jacksonville, the Chargers, Houston, Dallas, and Jacksonville.
There are some tough games in there.
Yeah, but there's 3 games between Houston and Jacksonville already.
That are easy wins.
And so, Vrabel's going to pull one of these, Dallas, the Eagles. I mean, those are good teams, but they're not great teams. Vrabel will pull some of those out of his rear.
And also account for games that they probably shouldn't lose that they will.
So that was what happened last year. That's what happened. And so this idea, this prevailing thought of, we lost Derrick Henry and we were still fine. Derrick Henry was the best player in the NFL for the first 8 games of the year, which included 2 victories over the Colts. And Indianapolis' quarterback got hurt at the beginning of the season, and they started off losing to Seattle and losing to the Rams and losing to you, and they were behind the 8 ball the whole time, and they never caught up. And so this idea of, well, hey, the Titans, they took care of business, and they No, they beat the Jags and they beat the Texans in the last game, and even that was hard to beat the Texans. This idea like that the Titans overcame Derrick Henry's injury, like they would have to overcome Harold Landry or A.J. Brown not being on the team for the whole season, that's not the case. I know a lot of people want to pretend that it's equal, but it's not. I even said it. Somebody texted me the day of the Derrick Henry injury, and they were like, oh, I bet you're going to give up all hope now. I was like, no. 2 o'clock, I said, if Derrick can come back and be Derrick at the end of the season, then they'll be fine. Because they'd already won the division that day. They won the division when they beat Indy the second time. If Derrick wasn't the running back for the season last year, they lose to Arizona, they lose to Seattle, they lose to Buffalo, they lose to Indianapolis probably both times. Now it's a totally different season. I mean, remember, there was a 4th and 1 that Derrick Henry got stopped against Indianapolis on a broken foot, launched himself forward, and they got a first down. They won that game in overtime. They won the Bills game by a foot. They won Seattle by an overtime. He was incredible in those games. So this idea of, oh, it'll be just like last year, that is not true. It is taking what actually happened and ignoring it. And that is what bothers me. If someone were to tell me, like, hey, the key for replacing A.J. Brown's big playability is the Titans are going to try to really just control the ball on offense by throwing short to the tight end, the slot receiver, and Robert Woods, and just move chains, and not get the big explosive play. And then every now and then try to hit Westbrook a Keeney deep like they did in the Steeler game and he dropped it. Then I'm not going to like it, but I at least understand it. And those are the discussions they're having there about Brown's production and Landry's production. Not the Weaver will get in there and get 10 sacks. They're not having that discussion inside the building.
Well, it's not realistic.
But it's also
how can we overcome? Because
none of it is likely to happen.
But it's all fair things to be concerned about. You don't lose your leading sacker and get better or feel better about it.
Well, that's why Vrabel was such a
how
piss
do you
pants
overcome it
at the podium on Wednesday after
we
Landry
didn't
did
know
it,
Landry
because
tore his
he
ACL.
knew that they were screwed. And now, because he's had time to process it, he's up there like, I hate it for Harold. He's a great player, but, we're moving on. And of course, that's what every coach says.
You have no option but to move on.
If Tannehill tears his ACL and Malik has to go in there, they're going to lose. But Vrabel will say, we're building a game plan. We're really excited for Malik. And he's got a great bit of talent, and we're there.
But losing your quarterback is different than losing Harold Landry.
Well, it's only different because the fans will understand if they lose the quarterback, as opposed to if this defense isn't as good this season, then the odds of them being able to prevail in the AFC with every team that has a good quarterback except for the Titans being a reality.
Fans will understand if this defense takes a step back because it lost Harold Landry.
I'm not sure they will.
I think that's a pretty obvious thing to look at and understand.
I don't think – the thing that I've learned about the fans is they may bring it up as an excuse, but then once the excuses only last until – like, this is not politics where somebody can say that they just won the election, right? Like, the sports, there is a scoreboard, like that says, like, either you win or you lose.
Yes.
And if they lose early because the defense isn't very good, then what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, it'll be okay. With Vrabel, that game, the ref screwed us, and this one, that happened, and, whatever. And then when the final nail strikes and the team's just not very good, or they're not going to make the playoffs, or whatever it is, the reality that comes down to the team, if Vrabel can't fix replacing his losing sacker, then it will be, well, we lost Landry, what were we expecting to do? But right now, those same people are texting and saying, Vrabel played with 91 players last year. He'll be fine. And so that's the difference.
But I don't think that Harold Landry is the difference between making the playoffs and a losing season. And I think that's kind of what you're pointing it out to be, is if, the Titans lose and they continue to lose games, they're not very good, then they'll look at Harold Landry. But that's not the only reason why. That's not the difference between a winning and losing season.
That's not the difference, but what else don't they have?
A replacement?
Well, they don't have Harold Landry, and who else do they not have?
A.J. Brown.
That is the difference between a winning and a losing season. That's my point. Like, the Titans do not make the playoffs last season without A.J. Brown and Harold Landry. There are a reason why certain guys in this league make $20+ million a year. And both of them either do or come really close. And it's because they change games. There is a reason why Buster Skrine, and I like Buster Skrine, He was a good player. There's a reason why Austin Hooper, who a lot of people are hanging their hat on, Austin Hooper's making $7 million. Why? Because he's a starter and he can play, but he doesn't change the game. A.J. Brown makes $20 million because he changes the game. Harold Landry makes $20 million because he changes the game. The only way to get a guy who doesn't make that kind of money, who changes the game, is to draft that player. And there is no draft, and they're trying to book Burks, and that's why Burks has to. Like, I try to explain this to people, like, Burks has to replace A.J. because that's what he's here for, because that's the only way to do it, unless they went out and traded for another A.J. And right now, Burks isn't bringing that. So I hear you about how, one Harold Landry and one A.J. Brown does. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll just go right back to your phones next. Here on the program, 615-737-1025. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. Kick off week one with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action. Then you can turn game day into payday all season long. Right now, if I were going to make free $150 in free bets, I would feel really, really good early on in the season. There's just me, and there's a lot of good week one games. Indianapolis against Houston. That would be the one that I would go on. Plus, you can play your way on more than just the final score. You can wager on everything from touchdowns to yards to catches. So you can combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Don't fumble your chances to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code JGM. And make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present, Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, I'm Matthias Ekholm, and this is Smashville.
Ekholm is shot, he scores! Matthias Ekholm gets the Predators' third of the night.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025, The Game.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life.
Cool.
It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors. Part of our tractor lineup rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Z Series mowers and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for $0 down, 0% APR for up to 48 months, plus save up to $1,100. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details. 3 locations to serve you: Columbia Kubota, Franklin Kubota, and Krebs Kubota. ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com or KrebsKubota.com.
When I retire, I plan on being busy. Bird watching, cooking, traveling. I might even write a book. But I never thought I'd have to plan on being an expert on all things Medicare. Fortunately, with 75 years of experience helping Tennesseans, the experts at Farm Bureau Health Plans helped answer all my Medicare questions. So no matter what I plan on doing next, I understand all my options. Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Golfers, tee it up this fall at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for big savings. Save up to $150 off on Ping G425 woods. Upgrade your gear with discounted Wilson stand and cart golf bags. And stock up on TaylorMade Distance Plus golf balls, now 2 dozen for $35. Don't miss these items and more happening now at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, and get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Join us for the Wednesday edition of Robbie and Rex Road. Paul Kaharski from paulkaharski.com drops by. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans as they take on the Giants this week. Get you caught up on the latest in college football as well. That's Robbie and Rex Road, 6 a.m. on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
How's Nicholas Petit-Frere grown at his position, and what more can he do, do you think, as he evolves as an NFL player to learn that spot?
Well, just so much different, things that he sees from looks and scheme from our defense or, Tampa and Arizona, and then now going, looking forward to the Giants. That's a lot of stuff. So each block or each play, based on the front, there's a lot more to it than that. I think sometimes in pass protection, that's probably the easiest thing that they have is because it's, the tackle usually has the end unless, there's pressure or something else happens. So, with that is just really just being good at the top of the pocket and, using his length, using his size. But I think he's adjusting to the different looks in the run game.
Easy to say now for Mike Vrabel. We'll see on Sunday. Trevor Maddox on the show earlier today saying, I said, look, Trevor, be real with me. Is there any chance the Giants can win? And he said, yes, if the right tackle fails. So that's how important that position is. Not, we'll figure it out. Trevor's like, no, you could lose to the Giants, and the Giants stink.
In fairness to the fans who are saying, we'll figure it out, the Titans have found a way to figure it out.
They figured it out last year. The year before that, I'm not going to go there because Dennis Kelly was better than the run-of-the-mill backup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dennis Kelly had started for this team, and Dennis Kelly was good. Now, here's the thing. Quessenberry started last year right tackle. Quessenberry had started the back end of 2020 at left tackle for the Titans. The guy had played in the NFL. Might not be very good, but at least he knew how to play in the NFL. This kid, he's going to learn on the job. And I actually read an article about this in Sports Illustrated that apparently this idea that the Titans have about, hey, just run them out there and see what happens, apparently that's kind of the problem with the NFL right now. Albert Breer wrote, the NFL's got an issue developing offensive linemen, and it's not a new one. It's why 4 backup linemen were traded in the last 2 weeks, and the Titans were one of the teams that traded for a backup lineman. Mm-hmm. It's why linemen are routinely the ones getting claimed on waivers. It's why the offensive line coach has become maybe the 3rd most valuable assistant on any head coach's staff behind the 2 coordinators who set the schemes. And that the 2 reasons are, 1, because they don't practice very much, and 2, because the colleges do such a bad job with their offenses of developing NFL offensive linemen. So when they go from college, it's hard to look at a lineman and say, how do we know if this guy's going to be any good? Because he's not really an NFL lineman. He's a college lineman. And what they ask the linemen to do are very different. And then they don't practice at all. So when they don't practice in pads ever, how is the lineman supposed to get better?
And I do wonder how much of that is due to the evolution of the passing game in the NFL. How now it is such a pass-first league. So
I think it has nothing to do with the NFL. I think it's everything to do with college.
Really?
I think it's obvious. The 2 things are college. In my opinion, the 2 things are college. And
then I guess you could also see the evolution of the passing game in college as well.
Well, but
it's a trickle-down effect.
The evolution, right. Bill Parcells used to say, you can only get what the colleges are giving you.
Yeah.
But what's happened is in the NFL, a team that has Joe Burrow or a team that has Aaron Rodgers can run, something that's incredibly multiple and very complex, and a defense can't just say, okay, this is our plan to stop it.
Right.
Whereas if Malik Willis gets in there, it's like they have one choice. And if the defense figures out what that one choice is, you lose. And that's what it is for linemen now, too.
Right.
Which is what they're asking them to do. And so the passing game, the Chip Kelly Oregon thing that got everybody going, where they were going to run up the line every play and all that kind of stuff. Remember, Nick Saban hated that. Nick Saban hated it because he had the big offensive linemen and the big defensive linemen, and those guys don't run like that. And so they can't stay on the field like that. So that's why Saban hated it. Well, once college started doing that, then the pros started scheming towards that a little bit. And then all of a sudden, it took one team to get a 250-pound running back, and all of a sudden he's running past everybody into the end zone because none of those linebackers are big enough to tackle him anymore. The linebackers and safeties aren't big enough to tackle Derrick Henry. So if you're going to tackle Derrick Henry, you better hit him at the line of scrimmage. Whereas 20 years ago, those linebackers were big enough to tackle Derrick Henry, but
they weren't necessarily fast enough.
They wouldn't be fast enough, right. What do we have in the text line? Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com.
Big E texts in and says A.J. Brown had 869 yards last year. He had 300-yard games and 5 touchdowns last year. He's a loss, but that's replaceable. With a good tight end and hopefully a healthy Robert Woods and serviceable Westbrook-Akine and Traylon Burks and a healthy Derrick Henry, he's the engine that helped the passing game.
So I laugh at this idea that A.J. wasn't that big of a deal last year.
I think it's easy to look at stats, and I think also a lot of fans look at the fact that A.J. Brown wasn't necessarily reliable to stay on the field. When he was on the field, he was a dog.
And what happened?
A.J. Brown is a good player.
And what happened when he wasn't on the field?
You lose.
They lost. They lost to the Jets. Why? Because A.J. didn't play. Derrick Henry had 150 yards. And they lost. They played the Texans. Why'd they lose? Because A.J. got hurt in that game. And Tannehill threw 4 picks. The only reason the Titans had a chance against the Bengals after they threw 2 interceptions was simply because A.J. Brown averaged 28.4 yards a catch. He caught 5 passes, 4 were for first downs. The other one that wasn't for a first down
was for a touchdown.
Was a touchdown. I mean, like, come on, people. Like, let's not be, now Burks, when they made the trade, I was for it, but I was for it in large part because I felt like everyone was telling me that Burks was going to come in and replace A.J. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says, Derrick Henry's dominance in the run game is what helps this offense in the passing game in 2020, plain and simple.
Say that again?
Derrick Henry's dominance in the run game is the engine that helps this offensive passing game, plain and simple.
Well, duh. But they have Derrick Henry. But Derrick Henry doesn't make the passing game, just like Derrick Henry didn't make the passing game last year. I think the passing game would have serious problems. If it was Tannehill and these receivers and no Derrick Henry and no running game, the Titans would be like a 7-win. Would be like a
It'd be rough.
7-win team.
It'd be rough. But I do wonder also too, because to your point, when AJ was on the field, he was a dog. When he was off the field,
they lost
because there was nobody else.
Yep.
But with more reliable receivers, I mean, that's making a large assumption that these receivers are reliable because we don't know if Robert Woods is going to be able to stay on the field. We don't know if Traylon Burks is going to be able to stay on the field. But let's say that they are. Is a more reliable, not as talented wide receiver core better than and not very reliable A.J. Brown? I don't know the answer to that.
How many playoff games did A.J. Brown miss?
None.
0. And so
they played one.
I'm talking about the whole tenure that they won all those games that he was here. He was great in that Bengals game and they lost. He was great in the Ravens game and they lost. A.J. Brown's a really good player.
He is, and I never want to undermine how good he is and how important he was.
The idea that the Titans can take a bunch of okay players and replace a great player, that's not how the NFL works. Could I go out and get 3 solid defensive players and put them on the Rams and take Aaron Donald out? What would you rather have?
I'd rather have Aaron
Donald. I mean, for $30 million, you can get 3 legitimately solid. I mean, the Titans are not paying $30 million. The A.J. contract is what, $26 million a year?
I think so.
$26 million a year for A.J. Brown. Is it 26 or 24? I can't remember.
Maybe
Let's say it's 26. Let's say it's 26. The Titans are paying Robert Woods 10. They're paying Traylon Burks on a rookie salary. And they're paying Austin Hooper 7. So they're not even paying what A.J. is making by himself per year.
But also you could argue, is A.J. worth $26 million a year?
I mean,
just because that's what he's making doesn't mean that he's a $26 million player. It's exactly why the Titans traded him, because they didn't think he was that valuable of a player.
No.
They at least didn't want to pay him that much money.
I think, I don't know exactly what the reason for trading him was. I think it was kind of all the bitching.
It's attitude, money,
but
health.
Still, I mean, if they win one playoff game, it's worth $26 million. And right now, I don't know if this team can make the playoffs, as is currently constructed. And look, they couldn't factor in the Landry thing, and they paid Landry all the money because they needed Landry to produce. But to not have Landry and to not have A.J., that's a lot. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I'm giving something away, so be listening for that. But first, I'm going to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. It is grilling and chilling season, and Hiller is celebrating all month with special deals for customers. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals, like a free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a new tankless water heater, or a free Traegerwood pellet grill with the purchase of a new whole home generator. free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a full home septic system. And Hiller is also helping you make sure that your home is ready for cold weather. Take advantage of this limited time financing promotion on HVAC promotions like 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on select new HVAC systems. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be or Service is Free guarantee, and I know that because they take fantastic care of my home. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Vols, the Preds, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today. Let's give away a pair of tickets to see ZZ Top at the First Bank Amphitheater on September 29th. Caller 5 at 615-737-1025. You're going to ZZ Top. Again, that is September 29th at the First Bank Amphitheater. Good luck to you on that. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at thegamenashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes. Like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Oh, yeah! Go to thegamenashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus today. Humid but a little below average. High temperatures in the middle 80s this afternoon. A chance for a few more isolated showers and storms during the afternoon hours. Mornings stays dry, and we'll continue that trend going into your Wednesday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzaco.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Harman Energy is now hiring drivers for their Nashville team. Harman Energy is Tennessee's petroleum solution for major industries. Right now, they're offering competitive compensation. Fuel tank wagon drivers start at $26 an hour. Fuel transport drivers, $29 an hour. Plus, there's a $4,000 sign-on bonus for CDL drivers. Top quality benefits and a great place to work, Harman Energy employees provide totally outrageous customer service. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com.
It's bedtime at the home of SiriusXM, but Conan O'Brien is still awake.
Turns out you don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen to the app anywhere, in your room, by the pool, at the
And
laundromat.
Brad Paisley just really needs his beauty sleep.
Conan, I just really need my beauty sleep. Maybe really expensive boat, like a yacht.
The waves could rock you gently to sleep.
Don't encourage him, guy.
Sorry. Night-night. Everything you want to hear lives here on SiriusXM. Get the SiriusXM app now.
Chase McCabe.
The best way to figure that out is to watch Twitter.
Willie Donick.
Trying to move down the field for the winning field goal.
And Derek Mason.
I'm putting in my hours, and I'm out of here.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
So there is one thing that is bothering me. Well, there's a lot of things that are bothering me right now. But there's one thing that is bothering me at this moment. And maybe I am like a football traditionalist. The things that people get mad about on social media, I don't get mad about. Like the Steelers today put out their depth chart, and I guess they made a mistake, and they had Mason Rudolph as the number 2 quarterback and Kenny Pickett as the number 3 quarterback, and the internet freaked out and was like,
But
what?
who cares?
What? What? Who's going to be our second string and third string? Oh, no. And so then Mike Tomlin had to explain the error, and the Steelers sent out an updated depth chart. whatever.
Only this time of year do people care that much about the backup quarterback.
Only. But the Chicago Bears, now they stink, and they have slashed their payroll. They're going to be terrible this year. And they're doing it on purpose. Because the Chicago Bears paid $120 or $192 million or something in order to buy some racetrack in like the suburbs of Chicago. Now, I don't live in Chicago, so I don't know like with the suburbs and everything else. But so they've spent all this money to buy this racetrack out there in Chicago. I honestly thought it was a leverage play to get them to redo Soldier Field again, which they did 20 years ago.
That's an iconic NFL landmark.
So what's really going to happen, though, is the Bears are going to build this entire entertainment district in the suburbs of Chicago that will house the new football stadium, and it'll have hotels and condos and bars and restaurants. And in order to do it, they're going to pay the city of Chicago $80-something million to get out of their lease with Soldier Field before 2033. And then they're going to build this giant gala of a facility area. And they're going to make money and money and money and money and money. And guess what? If I own a bunch of land and there's hotels on it and everything else, we've all played Monopoly, right? Guess where that money doesn't go? The salary cap. Guess where else the rest of that money doesn't go? The rest of the owners in the league. So the Bears get to keep that money if that's what they do. It's a great financial plan. I have a problem with them moving out of Soldier Field.
I know. There's a certain sentiment associated with Soldier Field.
Like if the Denver Broncos want to move out of their stadium, I don't care.
But like Green Bay moving out of Lambeau?
They could never.
They could never.
They could never move out of Lambeau Field. They could never move to like downtown Milwaukee.
No.
And build a stadium.
It won't be the same.
Soldier Field?
I would say.
Like the Red Sox can't move out of Fenway Park, and nobody even cares about baseball like that anymore.
I would say Soldier Field and Lambeau are the only two like iconic landmarks in the NFL, iconic stadiums. Arrowhead, so true.
So,
but they're not moving out of Arrowhead.
No, like Arrowhead's nice.
Yeah,
they redid it. They redid it. That's what they do with these stadiums is with every single old football stadium in the country, with the exception of Vanderbilt Stadium, what they do is they basically just tear them down and build them back up.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, this is really like Soldier Field is 20 years old. Now, Soldier Field is 102 years old.
But the current Soldier Field as constructed, it doesn't look
21 years old.
It looks like 100 years old.
Is it really that bad?
I think
everybody says it's that bad. I've never been to Soldier Field.
I think I haven't been either, but just from watching games and seeing pictures of it, it doesn't look like it's in great shape.
So I remember they played, I think, a year, maybe 2 years at the University of Illinois in Champaign in order to build Soldier Field. But regardless of what, it's 20 years old, whatever. The Bears have made their decision, and they are going to move to this Arlington Heights Stadium, and I'm sure it'll be a cool stadium. But there's just something wrong with the Bears not playing at Soldier Field.
What's the motivation, do you think?
Money. What's the motivation for expanding the college football playoff?
Well, it's always money. But in what way? Is it they see that building this entertainment district will be a bigger payoff in the long run? Do they see more people buying tickets or season tickets and PSLs if they move away from downtown Chicago and into a suburb?
Let me use this example for you, right? Like if I owned a home and I could sell the home. Like I built a home in 2020 in Nashville, and I can now sell it for 80% of its value. Well, no. 140% of its value, or whatever 2020 to now is in Nashville.
Okay.
Or I can own an entire subdivision. That's what the Bears are doing.
Yeah.
The Bears are going to own everything around the stadium.
And it makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. Just like why the SEC is like, we want 12 teams in there. Why? Because if they get 12 teams in there, a 9-win Kentucky team can get in the college football playoff, and that's like a $160 million payout to the entire SEC. And that's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because they think Kentucky can compete for a championship. They're doing it. They know. We all saw Oregon, Georgia. They know they're going to get killed. The Bears know that they're going outside of Chicago and that they're, the history. And the only thing the Bears have is history. They haven't been relevant in the NFL in forever. So the only thing they have is history. But they get it because they're like, hey, we can make more money. And I just don't like it. That's it for us. We're out of here. We're back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.